Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to the channel. Before we drift into tonight's tale of the parallel dream, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from tonight? And what time is it for you right now? Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. There are certain nights when the universe feels closer than usual. When the stars outside your window seem to breathe in sync with you, and for a moment you can almost hear them whisper. Nights like this make you wonder how many worlds are out there quietly existing, dreaming beside our own. What if the stories we love, the worlds we imagine, are simply reflections of each other, ripples of the same ancient dream? Somewhere beyond the quiet hum of galaxies, two such reflections shimmer gently. Two universes, both born from the echoes of catastrophe, both rebuilt by the soft persistence of love. One is a world carved from light, the shimmering, crystalline realm of the gems, where emotion takes form as color and sound, and identity glows brighter than the stars. The other is a land reborn from magic and ruin, the strange, tender realm of Ooh, where life has found new ways to bloom after the fall of old humanity. At first glance, they couldn't seem more different. One world pulses with interstellar grandeur, ancient colonies, and distant queens of diamond. The other stretches across fields of candy and fire, ruled by elementals and dream-born spirits. But if you listen closely, beneath the noise of their stories, beneath the laughter and the battles, you can hear something familiar, a melody that both worlds hum in their sleep. It's a song of recovery, of remembrance, and of rebirth, a quiet echo that hums across dimensions saying, "We survived, we changed, we kept dreaming." In the universe of Steven Universe, creation is defined by light. The gems are not born, they are projected, like memories made solid. They emerge fully formed, ancient and radiant, each one a living prism of history and identity. Yet even beings of pure light carry the weight of emotion, the ache of imperfection. Their world once glimmered with the perfection of empire, but perfection has a way of shattering under the pressure of individuality. The rebellion that followed, the war for freedom and love, left scars deep in the crystal surface of their existence. And in the world of Adventure Time, everything breathes with the residue of what came before. Beneath the bright whimsy of Ooh lies a planet that remembers a different kind of light, the blinding flash of war, the end of an age of machines and men. From the ashes rose creatures of element and spirit, the land reshaped by emotions so strong they became forces of nature themselves. Here, ice remembers loneliness, fire remembers rage, and candy remembers joy. When you lay these two worlds side by side, a strange harmony begins to appear. Both born from destruction, both defined by the transformation of energy into emotion, both finding hope in what remains. Perhaps, somewhere in the deep rhythm of the cosmos, they were born from the same heartbeat. Imagine for a moment a time before either universe was named, before gems sang their first notes of light, or elementals sculpted their first kingdoms. Perhaps there was only vibration, a single wave moving through the void, carrying within it all potential forms of existence. That vibration might have split, rippling outward through the multiverse like chords in an infinite song. Some notes became light, crystallizing to the hard, clear shapes of gems. Others became feeling, condensing into the raw, mutable powers of elementals, both beautiful, both fragile. In that sense, Steven's gem and the Fire Princess's flame might share the same ancestor, a wave of ancient living energy that once dreamed of becoming something more. Maybe every act of creation is just the universe trying to remember that first song. It's easy to think of these stories as separate, but what if they're not? What if Steven Universe and Adventure Time are merely two different sides of the same cosmic mirror, reflections of a world that existed before time split itself in two? In both worlds, humans faded from prominence, replaced by beings of greater elemental or spiritual power. In both, the New Age is not driven by domination, but by emotion, empathy, and the longing to connect. And in both, the heart of the story is not destruction, it's healing. If gems are the crystallized memory of what was, and elementals are the living emotion of what could be, then maybe these two realities are dreaming of each other across time. Stephen's compassion echoes in Finn's courage. Garnet's fusion of love mirrors the union of fire and ice. Pearl's endless devotion to memory feels like the Ice King's lonely poetry in another form. Even the planets themselves seem to sigh with recognition, as if, in the silence between dimensions, they remember being one. When you close your eyes, it's not hard to imagine it. A quiet sea of stars stretching endlessly, and within it, two lights pulsing gently in rhythm, one pink and crystalline, the other blue and strange. Every time one flickers, the other responds. Their energies rise and fall together like breathing. It feels almost alive, as if the two worlds are not just connected, but in conversation. Maybe that's what dreams are. Little bridges of resonance between worlds that used to be one. When we dream, perhaps we tune ourselves, just slightly, into another version of existence, one where light speaks the language of feeling and feeling becomes light. In those soft frequencies, the distance between the gem homeworld and the land of Ooh might not be so far after all. They might lie side by side, layered like veils of sound in an ancient cosmic lullaby, each one echoing the other's melody through the folds of infinity. And tonight, as we drift deeper into this parallel dream, we'll follow that echo, listening quietly to the pulse that binds them both, the rhythm that sings across their histories, and the gentle truth hidden beneath all their adventures, that every world, no matter how far apart, is born from the same desire to be loved and to remember where it came from. In the stillness between stars, stories like these feel less like fiction and more like memory, like something the universe itself once whispered long ago. If you listen carefully, you can almost sense it, that faint, shimmering hum of connection between light and magic, between crystal and flame. The worlds of Steven and Finn might not share space or time, but they share rhythm, the slow, patient rhythm of creation rediscovering itself. Both universes carry within them the weight of the ancient and the young coexisting. In Steven's world, gems are ancient beings trapped in cycles of duty and perfection, learning to feel again through a boy who is half light and half human. In Ooh, the ancient elementals and spirits coexist with a new, reborn humanity that barely remembers the age before the Mushroom War. In both worlds, it is the children who carry the hope of balance, the quiet promise that the mistakes of the past can still be healed. Think about it. Steven and Finn are both wanderers in the ruins of forgotten ages. They live in places that are beautiful, but broken in subtle ways. Steven walks through the remains of the Gem Empire, where the ground still glows faintly with the memory of war. Finn roams through the forests of Ooh, where remnants of the old world poke through like bones under soft earth. Rusted cars, forgotten billboards, crumbling towers reclaimed by grass and candy and magic. Yet neither boy carries bitterness. Both move forward with curiosity, with kindness, and with a gentle belief that the world, no matter how strange, deserves to be loved. There's something sacred in that softness, something that connects their two journeys more deeply than any cosmic theory ever could. It's the belief that life wants to continue, that even when civilizations fall, the spirit of compassion always finds a way to be reborn. Maybe that is the first law of the multiverse, the rhythm that both these stories remember. When the diamonds fell and the empire fractured, the gem world didn't simply end. It transformed. It learned humility, empathy, and the quiet strength that comes from imperfection. And when the world before Ooh burned away, it too didn't vanish. Its remnants became something strange and beautiful. New forms of life born from radiation and magic, sadness and joy. Both transformations were not endings, but mutations of meaning. They were the universe's way of saying, you cannot destroy what loves to exist. If you could peer through the thin veil between dimensions, you might see faint shapes reflected across each reality. Maybe somewhere, the crystal temple's glowing face of stone and gem looks out across the void and sees the Ice Kingdom's peaks glimmering in the same rhythm. Maybe the ancient homeworld warp pads pulse with energy at the same frequency as the enchanted portals beneath Oo's surface. Perhaps the same pulse of creation hums through both, like an old heartbeat that never forgot its origin. And if that's true, then perhaps even their gods and guardians share ancestry. Prismo, the being of dreams and choice, resting in his cosmic cube, shaping realities with thought alone. He feels like a cousin to the light that birthed the gems. Both create through will and imagination, crafting forms out of possibility itself. And in turn, the gem's ability to project bodies of light echoes the elemental's control over matter and feeling. One creates form from soul, the other creates soul from form. They are two halves of a universal loop, energy folding back upon itself in infinite reflection. Imagine that, before all stories, before all worlds, there was a single dreamer, a cosmic mind asleep in eternity. Its dreams spilled outward as universes, each one taking a different shape depending on which part of the dreamer stirred. The bright, orderly part became the world of gems, clean, luminous, crystalline. The wild, emotional part became the world of Ooh, messy, alive, endlessly changing. But like two thoughts born from the same sleeping mind, they are never truly apart. They turn toward one another, sometimes overlapping in dreams, remembering that they were once the same. It's a beautiful idea, isn't it? That the universe might not be infinite chaos, but a collection of intertwined memories trying to find harmony again. That Stephen's soft compassion and Finn's brave kindness are not coincidence, but resonance, twin responses to the same universal question: how do we heal what has been broken? Both worlds answer in their own language. Stephen heals through understanding, seeing the pain of others and holding it gently until it softens. Finn heals through experience, by walking, learning, loving, forgiving. One repairs hearts, the other mends meaning. Both are acts of love. Both ripple outward across dimensions, rewriting the universe in softer tones. When you think about it, maybe that's why both worlds feel like dreams even when we're awake. Their skies shimmer with strange colors. Their people sing as if music were the air itself. They invite us to believe in gentleness as a form of power, and in that belief, maybe we too become part of their connection, a new layer of the dream, another echo in the song that never ends. If you listen closely to the quiet between their stories, you can almost hear how their worlds hum together, two melodies playing in harmony, each carrying the same longing for wholeness. Both Adventure Time and Steven Universe tell of civilizations born from brilliance, collapsing beneath their own perfection, and then reborn through gentleness. Each world holds the same dream at its core, that empathy can rebuild what power once destroyed. In the land of Ooh, the remnants of the old human world linger like fossils in the soil. The sky is bright and strange, full of color and clouds that seem to remember shapes from the past. Life there doesn't just evolve, it adapts emotionally. The Candy Kingdom exists because joy refused to die. The Ice Kingdom endures because sorrow found beauty in endurance. Every creature, every kingdom, is a feeling given form. Even the chaotic magic that animates Ooh feels personal, like the pulse of a dream that never stopped evolving. And then there's the gem world, distant, orderly, shimmering with sterile perfection. Its light feels cold at first, like glass polished too long. But within that coldness is yearning. The gems are beings of purpose, not choice, designed to be flawless reflections of a creator's intent. Yet somewhere deep inside that structure, the smallest vibration of emotion began to hum, quietly challenging everything, a defect, a feeling, a song. It's no wonder that rebellion was their salvation. Both worlds learned the same lesson, in different tongues, that perfection is lifeless, and only imperfection can love. When Stephen heals corrupted gems, when Finn comforts a lonely king, they are both participating in that same ancient rhythm, the act of turning pain into light. Perhaps that is the quiet echo, the energy that threads both realities together. The gem light and the elemental essence may be distant cousins, born from one original wave of creation. Imagine a universe before form, before stars even knew how to burn, where energy and emotion were the same thing. Over infinite eons, that energy splintered. In one direction, it solidified into light, structure, order, geometry. In another, it melted into feeling, fluid, chaotic, alive. The first gave rise to the gems, the second to the elementals. Both are forms of living memory, two ways the universe learned to remember itself. This might explain why their stories feel like dreams of one another. Stephen's powers, his ability to create shields, heal, fuse, are all acts of transformation, of merging and mending. The elementals of Ooh embody the same philosophy in elemental form. Fire and ice, candy and slime, each one a manifestation of a single emotional state carried to cosmic scale. The fire elemental burns with passion and anger. The ice elemental freezes in sorrow and detachment. The candy elemental embodies joy so pure it becomes almost unstable. They are not metaphors for emotion. They are emotion, incarnated as world-shaping force. When you compare that to how gems project themselves, light-based beings creating bodies that mirror their inner identity, it's difficult not to see the parallel. Gems and elementals are both reflections of consciousness manifesting through the material world. They are emotion wearing form. And if emotion is the language of the cosmos, then both worlds are fluent in it. Even their landscapes mirror this truth. On the gem homeworld, everything is precise, ordered, and beautiful in its symmetry, but lifeless without connection. On Earth, under Stephen's care, the terrain is wild and colorful, shaped by the unpredictable warmth of love and friendship. In Ooh, the same wildness reigns. Forests shift like moods. Rivers change course after dreams. The ground itself hums with feeling. It's as though both worlds learned that to be alive is to surrender control, to allow the world to feel with you. The connection goes deeper still. Both universes treat creation not as a divine command, but as an act of cooperation between love and chaos. Nothing exists alone. Fusion in Stephen Universe is not a weapon. It's a form of relationship, a physical embodiment of trust and harmony. In Adventure Time, transformation happens in much the same way. When Ice King and Betty merge into Golb's chaos, or when Princess Bubblegum rebuilds life from sugar and science, creation comes from merging, not division. Both worlds teach that union, whether through friendship, fusion, or faith, is the most powerful kind of magic. It's tempting to wonder if somewhere in the folds of time, the gem empire's light once passed through the veil and seeded its energy into another dimension, one that would eventually become Ooh. After all, both worlds emerged from apocalypse. Both found peace through emotion, not conquest. Perhaps when the gem war's shockwave rippled across realities, its energy scattered through the multiverse like pollen. In one reality, it reformed as gems. In another, as the elementals. The same power remembered differently. Or maybe it was the other way around. Perhaps the elementals came first, ancient spirits of nature whose essence drifted outward through the stars, solidifying into crystalline form as gems. Time might not even matter. The multiverse breathes in cycles. Beginnings and endings fold into each other like waves. What matters is that both worlds carry within them the same seed, the belief that emotion shapes reality, that empathy is stronger than destruction. When you watch Stephen reach out to heal a corrupted gem, when you see Finn sit beside the Ice King and simply listen, you're witnessing the same cosmic truth spoken in two languages. Both boys remind their worlds that even in universes born of light or fire, love is the only energy that never fades. And maybe when both worlds dream, when stars in one reality flicker and stars in the other echo their glow, they are remembering that truth together. The land of Ooh and the universe of gems, breathing softly in unison, like two hearts on opposite sides of the same cosmic lullaby. When you think about it, the similarities between these two universes feel too intimate to be coincidence. They are both dreamlike mosaics of what happens after catastrophe, gentle worlds learning to love again. Both exist in that delicate space between ruin and renewal, where the light has softened and everything hums with the quiet ache of survival. In Steven Universe, the universe's great lesson is forgiveness. It is a story about beings who were created to obey, learning to feel, about rulers learning to apologize and soldiers learning to rest. Every beam of gem light carries the memory of war, yet through Stephen's compassion, those memories begin to glow instead of burn. It's a slow healing, not loud or sudden, but steady, like dawn. In Adventure Time, the lesson is similar but told through the language of chaos and myth. The world of Ooh doesn't seek perfection. It thrives in imperfection. It understands that identity shifts and bends, that time loops upon itself. Finn and Jake wander through kingdoms of joy, madness, sorrow, and love, not to conquer them, but to understand them. They move through a dreamscape where every creature, no matter how strange, simply wants to belong. Both worlds take the old idea of heroism and make it tender. Their heroes do not destroy evil, they transform it. Stephen doesn't fight the corrupted gems. He listens to them. Finn doesn't slay monsters. He befriends them. Even when they face chaos itself, White Diamond or Gull BA. The resolution isn't found in power, but in compassion. The universes of light and magic agree on something rare and eternal, that the truest form of strength is gentleness. Perhaps that is the central vibration tying these two dreams together, the frequency of empathy. When Stephen's gem glows, when Finn's sword catches the starlight, they might both be channeling that same universal current. It is older than the diamonds, older than the elementals, older even than the dreamer that birthed the multiverse. It is the current that says everything deserves a chance to change. In the deep structure of the multiverse, maybe empathy is the gravity that keeps worlds from drifting apart. Each act of kindness reverberates across dimensions, echoing through unseen layers of existence. A hug on Beach City might soften a storm over Ooh. A song sung beneath homeworld's cold sky might warm the heart of a lonely princess in the Candy Kingdom. Reality hums with these small harmonies, quiet exchanges of hope passing from one dream to another. If you could see it, the invisible thread linking all things, it might look like light woven through water, every emotion, every act of grace, rippling outward. That's how the universes of Stephen and Finn stay connected. Not through portals or technology, but through shared feeling. The gem's resonance of light and the elemental's pulse of emotion are two aspects of the same melody, vibrating softly through eternity. There's an image that fits. Imagine Prismo's time room, floating in the endless void, glowing with that gentle orange light. Now imagine Stephen's gem in the same darkness, emitting its soft pink radiance. Each exists alone, yet when they shine together, the colors blend into a warm coral hue. Neither light nor magic, but both. That color and that union is the multiverse's heartbeat. Maybe when Prismo dreams, fragments of Stephen's universe flicker across his cube. Maybe somewhere in a forgotten temple in Ooh, a piece of crystal hums faintly with gem energy, pulsing in time with a heartbeat light years away. These tiny correspondences are like breaths in a sleeping giant. They remind us that all creation, no matter how distant, is participating in the same dream. And what a gentle dream it is. One where every being, whether made of crystal or sugar, is searching for the same quiet truth, that love is what keeps the universe from unraveling. Both stories, in their own ways, teach us to see beauty in the broken, to hold softness in a world that has been hard for too long. So when you watch Stephen gaze out at the stars or Finn rest under the glow of Ooh's strange skies, know that they might be looking at each other's worlds without realizing it. Their universes may be distant in form, but close in spirit, like two reflections cast upon the same cosmic lake. The ripples between them shimmer with memory, with the possibility, with the promise that even separate dreams can find harmony. That is the quiet echo between worlds, not a sound, but a feeling, a resonance that reminds us that all stories, all hearts, and all worlds are simply notes in the same lullaby. The multiverse breathes, the light and the magic entwine, and everything, absolutely everything, keeps dreaming. Every universe carries a silence that lingers after great wars. Not the silence of peace, but something older. The quiet hum of what came before destruction. The low vibration that remembers everything that was lost. Both the world of the gems and the land of Ooh live within that silence. Their skies may be bright, their colors playful, but beneath those soft hues lies the echo of apocalypse. Long before Stephen was born, long before Finn opened his eyes, their worlds trembled under the weight of empires and endings. The Gem War and the Mushroom War were not just battles. They were turning points in the heartbeat of existence. Both were events that tore the universe open and let something new spill through. If you listen to the way light flickers in Stephen's universe, it tells a story of precision and power. The gems were meant to be perfect, each born from the earth of distant planets, formed for purpose, loyalty, and obedience. Their empires stretched like starlight, conquering worlds and shaping life to fit their will. For ages, this system stood unshaken until something small but miraculous occurred. Love interrupted order. When Rose Quartz raised her hand against the diamonds, the universe itself seemed to pause. Her rebellion wasn't born from greed or power. It came from empathy, that unpredictable force that unravels even the most rigid designs. The war that followed was terrible and beautiful all at once. Planets scarred, armies shattered, and the Gem Empire fractured under the pressure of its own forgotten emotions. The battlefield became a place where identity began to bloom. Every gem who fought, no matter which side they stood on, began to feel the faint stirring of individuality. The cost was unimaginable. When the dust settled, Earth was left wounded. its surface dotted with corrupted beings, creatures half memory, half pain. But within that wreckage, something extraordinary had taken root. The Gem Empire's perfection had been broken, and through the cracks came something more luminous: freedom, growth, choice. Far away, in another universe, or perhaps in a reflection of the same one, another war was unfolding, the Mushroom War. The details are half buried in myth, half swallowed by time, but its shadow stretches across all of Oo. It was a human war, fierce and final. Machines roared, cities burned, and the planet itself seemed to sigh with exhaustion. When it was over, the world lay still. The sky dimmed, the oceans shifted, and the air carried a strange new shimmer, the residue of magic and mutation. From that silence came something new, just as it had in the gem world. Oo emerged like a dream blooming from decay. New life took hold: sentient candy, living fire, talking clouds, creatures that wore the bones of the old world as ornaments. The apocalypse did not end life. It simply changed its shape. The old world's science had fused with emotion, transforming energy into something unpredictable and alive. What makes these two wars mirror each other is not their violence, but what came after. Both universes learned the same quiet lesson: that endings are only transformations wearing the mask of loss. The Gem War stripped the cosmos of perfection, allowing compassion to grow. The Mushroom War stripped Earth of humanity's arrogance, giving rise to emotion as a creative force. In both cases, destruction was a kind of rebirth. Imagine standing at the edge of either battlefield long after the fighting has ended. The air would hum faintly, charged with leftover energy. The ground would glimmer with fragments of light or shards of candy glass. Depending on which world you were in, you might feel the pull of sorrow there, but also the strange peace that follows it. The land would not be dead. It would be dreaming. Perhaps that is how the multiverse heals itself. Through great wars, it sheds its old skin. Through silence, it regrows something softer. The Gem War and the Mushroom War may have been separate events, but they share the same heartbeat. Each marked the moment when the universe decided to begin again. The survivors of those wars became carriers of memory. In Stephen's world, that memory lived on in corrupted gems, souls twisted by the trauma of war, waiting to be healed by understanding. In Oo, it lived in relics, ancient bunkers, radioactive artifacts, and whispers from the age of man that still hum beneath the soil. Both are haunted by ghosts that are not angry, just lonely. They wait to be seen, to be remembered kindly. What's most haunting is that neither world truly knows how their war began. The causes are blurred, the motives scattered like dust. Even the diamonds could not name the first spark that led to rebellion. Even the creatures of Oo cannot remember who pressed the final button that ended their age. These forgotten beginnings give the wars their mythic weight. They are not just historical events. They are cosmic resets, moments when creation had to unlearn itself. If gems and elementals truly share an origin, then perhaps both wars were echoes of a single event in the distant past. A primal fracture that rippled outward through time. A wound in the multiverse that healed differently in each world. Maybe the Gem War was the war of light, and the Mushroom War was the war of matter, and both were simply the universe learning to balance its energy again. There's a quiet sorrow to that idea, that every act of destruction is also an act of remembrance, that when something breaks in one world, another world feels the tremor, and yet within that sorrow, there's beauty, because every fracture creates a new path for light to enter. Every silence after war becomes the soil where the next dream grows. If you close your eyes for a moment and picture those two worlds, not as separate timelines, but as layers of the same dream, you might begin to feel the rhythm that connects them. In the distant quiet after each war, both Earths glowed faintly under skies that felt too wide, as if something vast was watching and waiting to see what would grow next. The universe, it seems, always leaves a small space for rebirth after ruin. Oh, in Stephen's world, that rebirth took the form of empathy and understanding. In Finn's, it took the form of magic and emotion. But in their essence, both were about the same thing, the rediscovery of soul. The Gem Empire had stripped identity from its creations, turning them into perfect tools. The human empires before the Mushroom War had done something similar, relying so much on machines, order, and intellect that they forgot the fragile heartbeat of existence. When those systems fell, life remembered itself. Perhaps the elementals, the living embodiments of fire, ice, slime, and candy, were never meant to exist as we know them. Perhaps they were born from the same cosmic field that once powered the gems, the primal force of creation itself. The Mushroom War could have been the moment that fractured that energy, scattering it into emotional frequencies that shaped ooh. What was once structured light became feeling, memory, and desire. Instead of beings born from precision, as the gems were, the elementals were born from chaos gently finding its form again. Consider the fire elemental, her essence rooted in passion and intensity. She burns because she remembers warmth and loss. The ice elemental freezes because memory itself can be painful. The candy elemental creates sweetness to protect against sorrow, while the slime elemental dissolves barriers, reflecting acceptance and fluidity. In another world, these forces might have been expressed as gemstone, crystalline, structured, immortal, but in ooh, they softened into feeling. The gems and the elementals both mirror the fourfold structure that runs deep in the universe. They represent the dualities of order and chaos, creation and emotion, stability and transformation. Where gems are bound by the memory of their creation, elementals are shaped by the emotions of their world. Both exist as reflections of how energy chooses to express itself, one through perfection, the other through imperfection. When we look back at the ruins of those wars, we see the same pattern repeating in different languages of being. The Gem Empire fell because it could not understand love. Humanity fell because it could not understand restraint. Each forgot that existence depends on balance, the quiet middle ground where empathy and structure meet. So the universe corrected itself. In both cases, it used its most powerful tool, dreams. After the Gem War, the Earth became a sanctuary for emotion, a place where even alien beings could learn to feel deeply and heal. After the Mushroom War, the planet became a canvas for magic and imagination, a place where broken things learn to play again. They are not separate stories, but two halves of one cycle: creation, destruction, rebirth, and rediscovery. It's comforting to imagine that these worlds are not parallel lines, but branches of the same tree. Their wars were like storms that shook the roots, but after the shaking came growth. The gems who learned compassion and the creatures of ooh who embraced chaos are both results of the same universal yearning, to remember what it means to be alive. If you listen closely, you can almost hear that yearning humming beneath everything. In the gems' crystalline songs, in the elementals' emotional pulses, in the soft wind that moves through both worlds. The hum doesn't belong to any one universe. It's the voice of creation itself, echoing quietly across dimensions. It speaks in every war and every rebirth. It whispers, "Remember what you are." And maybe that's why these worlds feel so strangely familiar when placed side by side. Stephen's kindness feels like the echo of Princess Bubblegum's curiosity. Pearl's longing mirrors Ice King's loneliness. Even the corruption of gems feels similar to the way magic in O twists and mutates, reshaping itself into strange, beautiful forms. Both worlds show that imperfection isn't failure. It's the universe exploring its own dream. So when the wars ended, they didn't leave emptiness behind. They left space for light to scatter and recombine, for emotions to take new shapes. What the Gem Empire called corruption, the world of Oo would have called transformation. And what the humans of the Mushroom War called ruin, the gems might have recognized as regeneration. It's all a matter of how one chooses to listen to the silence that follows. Maybe deep within that silence, the universe hums a song that both worlds can hear. A song that says endings are only pauses between heartbeats, and that every shattered gem, every melted city, is still part of a larger pattern. A pattern made not of perfection, but of endless becoming. If the universe truly dreams, then perhaps these two worlds, Stephen's and Finn's, are the same dream seen from different angles. One side is the dream of order remembering love. The other is the dream of chaos remembering harmony. And between them lies that quiet seam in reality, the space where everything connects. The place we might call the war before memory. This war didn't happen in time as we know it. It's not a chapter that can be marked in history or carved into stone. It happened within the fabric of creation itself before stories began keeping track of themselves. Imagine the universe as a single, luminous being, one that became aware of its own energy, its own potential to divide and recombine. That first self-awareness was not peaceful. When consciousness meets infinity, it creates tension. A tension between being and becoming, between structure and flow. In some ancient whisper of that cosmic struggle, light may have chosen to crystallize, forming beings like the gems, structured, eternal, bound to purpose. At the same time, another current may have rippled outward, wild and emotional, eventually finding its expression as the elementals, living embodiments of feeling itself. Two halves of one creation, learning to exist apart. Over eons, they forgot that they were once part of the same current. What followed were wars that reflected the same conflict in smaller, more tangible forms. When Rose Quartz defied her creators, she unknowingly reenacted that first cosmic rebellion, the act of energy breaking its own pattern to rediscover compassion. When humanity ignited the Mushroom War, it echoed the same imbalance, chasing control so fiercely that it burned itself away. The wars of the multiverse are not random. They are memory fragments replaying themselves, searching for resolution. If we could peel back the layers of these worlds like the pages of a book, we might see the same symbols written over and over. The circle, the crystal, the flame, the spiral, each a representation of creation in motion. The gems carried crystals in their bodies, the frozen memory of stars. The elementals carried emotion in their hearts, the living memory of the same stars transformed by feeling. It's as if one side of the multiverse chose to preserve the logic of the cosmos, while the other chose to preserve its heart. But here's where the story grows soft again, where the tone shifts from theory to something like a lullaby. Because beyond all these grand ideas of energy and balance, both worlds share a more intimate truth, the need to care for one another. When Stephen reaches out to heal a corrupted gem, when Finn comforts the Ice King's fractured mind, those moments are the universe remembering itself through kindness. They are not random acts of mercy. They are restorations of balance on a small, tender scale. The war before memory might never be proven, but we can feel its remnants in the way these characters act. Every small gesture of compassion, every spark of creativity, every tear shed for a lost friend, it all seems to ripple outward as though mending something far larger than the individual. Perhaps these are the stitches holding the multiverse together after its great shattering. And sometimes, late at night in O, when the wind blows across the empty plains where the old cities once stood, the air hums faintly. It sounds almost crystalline, like light refracting through glass. It's not hard to imagine that this hum is the same tone heard when gems fuse, when love and understanding turn separate beings into something greater. Two worlds connected not by time or distance, but by resonance. Maybe the reason these universes feel so alike is because they were once one. Before the war that no one remembers, before energy decided to become form, before love and reason parted ways. Every planet, every star, every fragment of magic might still carry the faint vibration of that ancient union. And through their stories, through the kindness of Stephen, through the wonder of Finn, the universe quietly moves closer to remembering it again. When the gems healed and began to rebuild, their light softened. When Oo emerged from its ruins, its colors brightened. The shift in both worlds was toward gentleness, as though they'd each learned the same lesson. That creation doesn't end with power or control. It begins again with empathy. The war before memory, in all its invisible vastness, was perhaps the universe's first attempt to understand that truth. And maybe that's why these worlds dream so vividly, why their skies pulse with color, why their people carry the strange, childlike wisdom that only comes from having been broken and remade. The war before memory might have scattered the pieces of one great whole, but it also gave birth to infinite new stories, each one a way for the cosmos to whisper to itself over and over again, be gentle, remember, heal. Because the greatest wars never truly end. They dissolve into stories, and stories dissolve into dreams. And somewhere in those dreams, the multiverse keeps breathing, learning, and waiting for all its scattered selves to finally find each other again. After the great silence of the wars, the universe did not simply pause, it exhaled. The stillness that followed the gem war and the mushroom war was not emptiness, but a soft, vibrating space full of possibility. It was the kind of quiet that feels alive, where even the smallest movement is felt across vast distances. In that quiet, the first seeds of renewal began to stir, delicate and fragile, yet persistent. In Stephen's world, those seeds took the form of healing. The corrupted gems, twisted by trauma and loss, became living reminders that power without empathy can destroy even the most beautiful creations. And yet, through patience and understanding, Stephen began to untangle those wounds. Every touch, every song, every embrace was an act of restoration, not just for the gems, but for the universe itself. It is a quiet, slow magic, not the dramatic kind sung of in legends, but the soft, enduring kind that reshapes hearts. In Oo, the echoes of the mushroom war became new forms of life. Elementals arose, each a manifestation of the planet's emotional memory. Fire, ice, slime, candy. They were born from energy and feeling, not from careful design. Each one carried remnants of the old world, like fragments of forgotten songs remembered in the rustle of leaves or the shimmer of sunlight on snow. And like the gems, these beings taught the world to recognize the power of care over dominance. Their existence was a kind of post-apocalyptic poetry, a testament to the resilience of life when nurtured with attention and love. The wars before memory are more than history. They are foundations of understanding. They are evidence that even universes born of perfection or chaos cannot thrive without connection. Where one universe learned through structure, the other learned through feeling. And in both, the children, the ones born after destruction, the ones who inherit the echoes of loss, became the guides for what would come next. Stephen and Finn, though separated by infinite space, carry the same gentle purpose. Both teach that the greatest acts of heroism are quiet, that love and empathy are stronger than fear and destruction. It is remarkable to think how these two worlds, shaped by such different forms of catastrophe, still arrive at the same conclusion. The universe seems to have a subtle preference for balance through compassion. Even the stars themselves may hum with this lesson. Imagine them scattered across the cosmos, vibrating faintly in rhythm, casting faint pulses of energy that touch distant worlds. Perhaps that is why Stephen's light feels like warmth to a distant observer in Oo. Perhaps that is why the Ice Kingdom shivers with echoes that only someone like Finn could feel. These subtle currents are not coincidences. They are resonance, proof that the same dream pulses through multiple realities. Even the landscapes reflect the memory of the wars, where gem battles scarred planets, creating craters and fissures filled with glowing energy. The earth of Oo bears its own marks. Broken buildings stand as silent witnesses. Twisted towers, overgrown ruins, remnants of what was once human ingenuity. Yet life blooms in both spaces. The universe does not stop at destruction. It whispers, soft and insistent, for new growth, for new forms to arise. And in this whisper, the worlds are gently reminded that endings are not annihilation. They are transformation. Perhaps that is the essence of the war before memory. Not conflict, not loss, but the transmutation of energy into something that can feel. The universe itself learned to translate force into compassion. The same wave of transformation birthed the gems as structured light, and the elementals as living emotion. In one world, perfection became empathy. In the other, chaos became understanding. Both teach the same lesson, that consciousness, no matter how scattered, always seeks to heal itself. It is beautiful to imagine that the echoes of these wars continued to ripple softly across time and space, that even long after the last battle ended, the memory of loss still shaped the way beings choose to interact, that every act of kindness, every gesture of patience, every moment where one being reaches out to another is a continuation of the universe mending itself. Stephen's soft voice, Finn's bravery, even the quiet work of side characters, every choice resonates, building bridges between worlds, knitting together what was once fractured. And in the hush of night, when the stars align just so, it is possible to sense this resonance. Perhaps a gem somewhere pauses and feels it in the pulse of their light. Perhaps an elemental somewhere responds instinctively, its flame or frost or candy essence flickering in recognition. They are communicating not through words, not through thought, but through shared memory, a memory that stretches across dimensions and centuries. The war before memory is a reminder that destruction is never final, that even the most absolute endings are tempered by the quiet, unassuming magic of regeneration. It teaches that life in all its forms, crystal, elemental, human, or otherwise, cannot exist without connection. And it whispers that across the vast expanse of the multiverse, even separate realities can echo each other in ways that feel like home. So as we linger in this thought tonight, allow yourself to imagine the hum of both worlds, the pulse of light and emotion intertwining. Picture Stephen standing in the glowing silence of Homeworld, and Finn walking across the quiet plains of you, each feeling, in their own way, the remnants of battles they never fought, yet whose consequences shaped everything that followed. Listen to the rhythm of the cosmos, soft and steady, and let it remind you that even in worlds born of conflict, love persists. Every star, every crystal, every flicker of flame is part of the same song, the lullaby of the universe remembering itself after the war before memory. The hum continues, gentle and unending, guiding all who dream within it toward renewal, toward hope, toward the quiet, enduring beauty of existence itself. As we drift further into the parallel dream, let's turn our attention to the creators, the silent architects of worlds, the beings whose power shaped reality itself. Not just kings or rulers, but the very forces that decided how light and essence would flow through the multiverse. These are the makers, those who sculpted the gems from radiant energy, and those who breathed emotion into the elementals of ooh. They worked in forms both grand and subtle, leaving traces of themselves in the world they touched, hints of intention embedded in every crystal and every spark of magic. In the Gem Empire, the makers are ancient, unknowable, and often invisible. The diamonds, white, yellow, blue, and pink, are the most obvious manifestations, yet even they are part of something older, something more profound. They carry the memory of the first light, the original pulse that crystallized the cosmos into shape. Every gem is a reflection of that light, a prism refracting power, history, and identity. When a gem emerges, it is born whole, perfected, and yet not complete. There is a subtle imperfection within every projection, a tiny vibration of unpredictability, which is the signature of creation itself. The diamonds do not make gems as a gardener tends to plants. They create gems as a composer writes symphonies. Every aspect of form, function, and duty is orchestrated. Yet even the most precise composition cannot escape resonance, the echo of its own potential to change. Within the light of each gem is the faint, unpredictable song of individuality. Even Homeworld could not erase it entirely. That song is what eventually allows fusion, emotion, and ultimately healing. It is what makes Stephen's role so crucial, and what allows life to persist beyond rigid command. Across the void, in the land of Ooh, creation works differently, but with a strangely familiar rhythm. Here the makers are not singular, formal, or hierarchical. They are the essence of the world itself, the raw energy of emotion given form. The fire, ice, candy, and slime elementals did not emerge from a blueprint. They were not commanded into being. They felt themselves into existence. The planet remembered the Mushroom War, remembered its own sorrow and joy, and in the quiet, after devastation, it whispered new life into being. Fire learned intensity because the world had known loss. Ice learned stillness because the world had endured. Candy learned sweetness because it had longed for comfort. Slime learned fluidity because it had been forced to adapt. It is striking to consider that, despite differences in method, the makers of gems and the makers of elementals share the same fundamental principle, the transformation of energy into life. One uses crystal and light, the other emotion and chaos. One imposes order to shape potential, the other nurtures potential to shape order. Yet in both cases, creation is never static. Every being is imbued with potential beyond the maker's original intent. This is the quiet brilliance of their design, the universe's subtle insistence that life will grow beyond control, beyond prediction, and even beyond the memory of its own beginnings. If we were to imagine a time before even the makers took shape, we might see a sea of raw energy, a pulse of infinite possibility. Somewhere within that pulse, the first sparks of conscious creation flickered. Perhaps the same wave of pre-war energy that would later crystallize as gems also bled outward to seed what would become the elementals. Perhaps this was the universe learning to express itself in duality, light and essence, structure and feeling, permanence and fluidity. There is a strange poetry in that duality. Gems are light made tangible, and elementals are essence made visible. One is elegant, deliberate, and ordered. The other is vibrant, responsive, and evolving. Both, however, are alive in the same way, by reflecting the deeper truth of the universe, by carrying within themselves the memory of creation, destruction, and renewal. They are not mere tools. They are living expressions of cosmic intention. And yet, even with all their power, the makers were not omnipotent. The diamonds could not anticipate love, empathy, or fusion. The planet could not prevent the randomness of chaos, nor the whims of emergent emotion. Each world teaches the same lesson. The act of creation carries within it the seeds of its own transcendence. It will always exceed its origin. A gem may be born to serve, but love teaches it to choose. An elemental may be born from sorrow, but joy teaches it to dance. The parallels between the two are subtle, almost hidden. Gems and elementals are both emissaries of energy, shaped into a form the universe can perceive. They are the language of creation made tangible. In the quiet hours, if you watch closely, you can see it. The pulse of a gem's light as it shifts with feeling. The flicker of an elemental's flame as it responds to thought. Both speak in a language older than words, older than kingdoms, older than time itself. It is worth pausing to reflect on what this might mean for Stephen and Finn. These two children, born long after the wars, are themselves extensions of the maker's design. Stephen is not just a gem. He is the bridge between light and love, the reminder that structure can feel, that power can heal. Finn is not just a human. He is the embodiment of ooze resilience, the living proof that chaos can nurture, that wildness can guide. They are both heirs to the quiet wisdom of their respective creators, carrying the resonance of light and essence forward in ways neither could have foreseen. Consider the act of fusion in Steven Universe. Gems merge not simply to fight or defend. They merge to become more than themselves. They discover new identity, new understanding, new possibility. The capacity to transform echoes the essence of the elementals, who constantly shift and adapt, learning to express infinite variations of the same primal emotions. The makers may have set the stage, but it is their creations that teach them what it truly means to live. And perhaps this is the secret the multiverse has been whispering all along. That creation, no matter how structured or chaotic, always seeks resonance. That every gem's light, every elemental's pulse, every act of being is a note in a larger, multiversal symphony. That light and essence, though they take different forms, are really the same song being sung in different keys. The makers, then, are not the final authority. They are guides, sculptors, and witnesses. They set motion to the cosmos, but life itself writes the story. Gems and elementals, through their choices, their growth, and their interactions, expand the universe beyond the maker's original vision. They teach the quiet, unspoken truth that creation's most enduring magic lies not in perfection, but in its capacity to evolve. And as we begin to drift deeper into this reflection tonight, it becomes clear that light and essence are not merely physical or emotional. They are connected, intertwined, and echoing across the multiverse. The makers gave form to energy, but the creations themselves gave it meaning. In their quiet, persistent existence, they remind us that the universe is never finished. It only sleeps, soft and patient, waiting to dream itself anew. As the makers shaped their worlds, they left behind more than just beings. They left patterns, frameworks for understanding, and subtle traces of intention. Look closely at the gems, and you see symmetry, precision, and the echo of cosmic light in every facet. Look closely at the elementals, and you see emotion crystallized into form, a reflection of energy that bends and flows with experience. Both carry a memory of their origin, yet neither is entirely predictable. Life has a way of bending the will of its creators. Gems and elementals are like two sides of the same coin. The gems embody possibility constrained by geometry and light. The elementals embody possibility shaped by emotion and essence. Both demonstrate that creation is never static. A sapphire may foresee outcomes with meticulous clarity, but it is rose quartz's love that introduces variability, teaching gems how to feel. A fire elemental may burn predictably, yet it is the subtle influence of joy, loss, or curiosity that allows it to grow beyond its initial expression. In each case, life exceeds the boundaries its maker laid down, and in this exceeding, a quiet dialogue emerges between worlds. If gems were the product of pre-war energy shaped into perfect light, then elementals might be the same energy refracted differently through the lens of emotion and chaos. Perhaps they share a common ancestry, born from the same primal pulse before order and feeling diverged. It is an intriguing possibility that what appears as separate creation is really a single current of energy, flowing into multiple forms. We can see hints of this connection in how both worlds respond to trauma and restoration. Gems, when fractured or corrupted, require careful guidance, patience, and emotional resonance to heal. Elementals, though often wild and instinctual, also change through interaction, through empathy, through the slow understanding that actions ripple across the world. Both worlds suggest that power alone is insufficient. Only when energy is paired with intent, when light is coupled with feeling, does creation achieve its full expression. It is also worth noting the subtle influence of the makers on these processes. The diamonds, for all their rigidity, did not anticipate the depth of compassion that Stephen would wield. Likewise, the primal energies of while guiding the formation of elementals, cannot fully predict how emotions will shape their behavior. Creation, in both cases, is a collaboration between the original spark and the ongoing choices of its manifestations. The resonance between these two universes deepens when we consider the act of transformation itself. Fusion and elemental growth are not just physical changes. They are metaphors for the universe learning to reconcile difference. In Stephen's world, fusion is the conscious merging of identities, creating something that carries the essence of all involved. In elementals adapt constantly, reshaping themselves to respond to environmental and emotional stimuli. Both reveal a profound truth. Life is not meant to remain fixed. It thrives in motion, in adaptation, and in the interplay between energy and experience. And so the makers, though silent and often absent from the stories we see, continue to speak through their creations. Each gem, each elemental, each child like Stephen or Finn, becomes a living testament to the universe's quiet, persistent intelligence. It is not brute force that sustains life, but subtle alignment, the way energy is shaped, reflected, and transformed over time. In understanding the makers, we come closer to understanding the multiverse itself. We see that creation is never a one-time act. It is continuous, iterative, and relational. Light becomes life, essence becomes form, and through this ongoing interplay, universes remember themselves. Both the gems and the elementals are reminders that nothing is ever fully lost, that every spark of energy carries the potential to bloom into something new, something radiant, something enduring. And as we drift deeper into this exploration tonight, it is comforting to recognize that the makers, while powerful, are not the ultimate authority. Life in all its forms writes its own destiny. It is patient, gentle, and persistent. Through the quiet pulse of energy and essence, the universe continues its lullaby. A soft hum connecting worlds, guiding all who inhabit them toward growth, understanding, and the quiet beauty of becoming. The beauty of the makers lies not only in what they create, but in what they leave behind. Space. Space for possibility, for deviation, for the unexpected emergence of identity. Gems may be designed to embody perfection, yet even they carry the potential to surprise, to feel, to transform. Elementals, though born from chaos and emotion, find structure in the patterns of their experiences, learning, adapting, and sometimes guiding others along their paths. Both sets of creations reveal a quiet truth about the universe. The creation is never a command, it is a conversation. It is fascinating to consider the way these universes encode memory and intention. In Stephen's world, gems carry the literal imprint of their maker's will, but this imprint is not absolute. Corruption, fusion, and emotional resonance introduce variables the diamonds cannot predict. Even the most loyal gem may choose differently when confronted with love, friendship, or understanding. In U, the elementals are born without explicit direction, yet their behavior forms patterns that echo the memory of the world itself. In both cases, the maker's influence is present, but it is never final. Life itself becomes a collaborator. Perhaps this is the quiet magic that links the two worlds. Both treat energy as a medium, a substance capable of holding memory, emotion, and intent simultaneously. The light of a gem is not inert. It carries the echoes of history, desire, and consciousness. The essence of an elemental is not random. It embodies experiences, feelings, and memories that predate its birth. And when these energies interact with sentient beings, when they are engaged with care and attention, they reveal their latent potential to heal, to grow, and to transform not only themselves, but the worlds around them. Think for a moment about the act of creation in these worlds as a gentle layering of intention over energy. The diamonds shape gems with precision, embedding in each one a purpose, a role, and a resonance. The world of U layers emotion over elemental energy, allowing feelings to mold substance itself. One is crystalline, ordered, and deliberate. The other is fluid, organic, and adaptive. Yet in both, there is the same guiding principle. Energy must carry more than function. It must carry meaning. And here is where the story becomes especially soft and reflective. The kind of thought that lulls the mind toward quiet curiosity. The makers, despite their power, are not the ultimate arbiters of their creations. They set conditions, launch currents, and shape possibilities. Yet the creations themselves, the gems, the elementals, and the children born from their worlds, discover new ways of being, new expressions of identity, new forms of resilience. The universe, in effect, learns through its own manifestations. It is illuminating to see how this dynamic manifests in moments of vulnerability. A corrupted gem, once a perfect soldier of light, is healed not through force but through understanding. An elemental whose fire or ice or candy essence may seem wild and unpredictable is guided not by command but by empathy, by gentle engagement. These are lessons written into the fabric of their worlds. Power without compassion is incomplete. Creation without response is dormant. And the resonance does not end there. Light and essence ripple outward, connecting distant corners of the multiverse. Stephen's touch may seem small, yet its effect reaches through space and time, awakening possibilities within gems, humans, and even echoes in U. Finn's kindness may appear isolated, yet it resonates across landscapes shaped by emotional memory, subtly influencing the flow of elemental energy. Both worlds hint at the same principle. The act of caring is a form of creation, as potent as the work of the makers themselves. If we follow this thread further, we begin to see a quiet symmetry. Gems and elementals may have diverged long ago from a common pulse of pre-war energy, yet their paths are intertwined through the same universal lesson. that creation is not finished when it emerges, and that life itself is a co-author of destiny. Every choice, every act of understanding, every moment of connection becomes part of the ongoing story, a continuation of the Maker's original intent that is richer, softer, and infinitely more alive than any plan could have anticipated. This brings us to an especially gentle realization. The Maker's true gift is not control, not dominance, but the possibility of becoming. By shaping light or essence, by embedding intention into energy, they have left the multiverse with something enduring, the ability to surprise, to heal, to connect. Through the lives of gems, through the fluid forms of elementals, and through the courage and empathy of children like Stephen and Finn, the universe whispers a timeless lullaby. It tells us that energy, when given form and care, is never static. It grows, it learns, it dreams. And so, as we rest here in the quiet glow of these thoughts, it becomes clear that the Makers are never truly absent. Their work continues in the subtle shifts of behavior, in the healing of old wounds, and in the gentle pulse of life that moves through every being. The multiverse itself, composed of light, essence, memory, and emotion, is a living testament to their enduring presence. Even in the softest moments, when no one seems to notice, creation continues its tender dialogue, shaping worlds not with force, but with love, patience, and possibility. And here we arrive at perhaps the most mesmerizing aspect of the Makers, the way their influence persists, not as control, but as invitation. They have set the stage for light and essence to interact in ways they themselves may never have foreseen. The gems carry their precision and history. The elementals carry their emotional resonance. Yet in the unfolding of time, these creations discover subtleties their Makers did not fully anticipate. This is the universe, speaking softly through them, a quiet conversation between what is intended and what is possible. Consider the act of choice within these worlds. Gems, though designed to follow orders, find ways to exercise free will. They fuse, they rebel, they create new identities, and through these acts, they uncover layers of self that were not present at the moment of their birth. Elementals, though born from the raw emotional essence of ooh, discover patterns, develop relationships, and even teach the humans and other beings around them lessons in balance and empathy. In both universes, the Maker's work is never finished. Life itself continues the act of creation, an ongoing dialogue that stretches across centuries and dimensions. This quiet evolution reminds us of the subtle power of reflection. The Makers, whether diamonds or the primal forces of ooh, embed intention, yes, but leave space for reflection, for interpretation, for growth. Every gem that learns to heal a corrupted companion, every elemental that adapts to nurture a stranger, is participating in this cosmic reflection. It is as if the universe itself experiments with its own principles, testing, learning, and unfolding gently, like a flower that blooms slowly under starlight. And then there is the matter of resonance, the invisible thread that links these two worlds together. The vibrations of gems, born of structured light, and the pulses of elementals, born of living essence, may seem entirely different. And yet, when examined closely, they share a frequency, a subtle, quiet hum that speaks of shared origins. It is a reminder that energy, no matter how differently expressed, carries memory. That what was once a singular pulse of pre-war energy has radiated into multiple forms, yet remains connected by the same underlying song. Through this lens, Stephen and Finn take on a new significance. They are not only participants in their own stories, but also inheritors of the Maker's original resonance. Stephen's ability to heal, to understand, and to empathize reflects the hidden wisdom embedded in the gems. Finn's courage, adaptability, and moral intuition reflect the echoes of elemental creation. Both children are proof that the maker's work continues not as static design, but as living, breathing potential. They are conduits, carrying forward lessons of light and essence, reminding both worlds that creation is never truly complete, only ongoing. Even the quietest gestures in these universes are imbued with cosmic significance. A gem's soft glow, a fusion that lingers a little longer than expected, a subtle flicker of an elemental's flame or shift in form. All of these are moments where the resonance of the maker's energy interacts with the unpredictable creativity of life itself. Each gesture becomes a note in a larger symphony, a lullaby that reverberates across dimensions, connecting distant worlds through shared experience, memory, and intention. And there is a deep beauty in imagining the symphony playing softly in the background, beyond the perception of anyone in either universe. It is not loud or dramatic, but subtle, persistent, like the rhythm of a heartbeat beneath a blanket of stars. The maker's influence is embedded in the pulse of creation itself, in the growth of identity, the healing of old wounds, and the tender interplay of light and essence across all existence. Every act of care, every choice made in alignment with empathy, every spark of understanding is a continuation of the maker's lullaby. Perhaps this is the ultimate gift of the makers, not power or control, but the provision of a canvas. They offer energy and form, structure and essence, and leave the universe to explore the infinite ways in which life can unfold. Gems and elementals in all their variations are evidence that creation thrives when given space to exceed expectation. They teach that existence is a collaborative process, a quiet dance between what is given and what is discovered, between intention and imagination. And so, as we linger in this contemplation tonight, it becomes possible to sense the soft hum of this interplay across worlds. Picture a gem pulsing gently with refracted light, and an elemental shifting with subtle emotion, each unaware of the other's existence, yet participating in the same cosmic song. Feel the rhythm connecting them, the quiet resonance of light and essence intertwined, an echo of the original pre-war energy that birthed both forms of life. The maker's work is ongoing. Every gem, every elemental, every child who inherits these worlds carries forward the quiet, enduring presence of creation itself. And though we may never fully understand the scope of their design, we can rest in the knowledge that light and essence continue to ripple outward, shaping worlds with gentle, persistent grace. The multiverse itself listens, learns, and dreams, and within that dream, the makers remain present, not as rulers, but as witnesses, as guardians of the soft, persistent wonder of existence, guiding all life toward the luminous potential of what it means to be alive. As we continue our gentle journey through the parallel dream, let us now turn our attention to the new life that rises from the quiet aftermath of great cosmic upheavals. The worlds of Steven Universe and Adventure Time are not merely defined by their wars, their scars, or their immense power. They are defined by those who inherit the echoes of those events. These are the Children of Rebirth, the ones who walk into a world shaped by destruction yet carry within them the seeds of renewal. In Steven's universe, this rebirth takes many forms, but none is more poignant than Steven himself. He is not merely a gem, he is a bridge. He carries the essence of his mother, Rose Quartz, intertwined with the unpredictable potential of humanity. Within him resides the quiet legacy of the gem empire, the perfection, the light, the structure, and yet he tempers it with warmth, empathy, and the capacity to feel deeply. Stephen is the living proof that the universe does not simply recover after devastation. It evolves. It allows love to emerge where rigidity once ruled, and understanding to bloom where obedience once demanded silence. Consider how he moves through his world. Stephen heals corrupted gems not with force but through patience, creativity, and compassion. Each act of restoration is gentle yet profound, an example of how new generations carry forward lessons encoded in the experiences of those before them. Stephen is a child of rebirth not only because he was born after a war, but because he embodies the reconciliation of light and life, of order and emotion. His presence is a quiet reminder that healing is as much about the small, steady choices as it is about monumental acts. Over in Ooh, rebirth manifests differently but with the same quiet grace. Finn is a human child who grows up in a world scarred by the Mushroom War. Unlike Stephen, his environment is chaotic, wild, and full of remnants of a lost civilization. Yet in that chaos, Finn finds purpose. He nurtures, explores, and protects. He engages with the magic and the creatures of his world, not out of obligation, but from an innate sense of curiosity and empathy. The world of Ooh, shaped by elemental energy and emotional resonance, is a playground for life's potential. Finn, in his innocence and courage, becomes the steward of that potential, learning, growing, and guiding others in turn. Both Stephen and Finn are extraordinary in part because they inherit histories they cannot fully control. Stephen carries the legacy of the Gem Empire, the weight of perfection, the remnants of rebellion, the memory of the war before memory itself. Finn carries the legacy of the Mushroom War, the echoes of humanity's mistakes, and the wild, unpredictable energy of a world remade from chaos. And yet, rather than being crushed by these inheritances, they transform them. They become conduits of rebirth, demonstrating how the next generation can reinterpret the lessons of destruction in ways that foster growth, understanding, and connection. It is remarkable to reflect on how both characters navigate their respective worlds. Stephen's ability to heal is almost a gentle mirror to the natural restoration seen in Ooh. Just as the elementals and other inhabitants of Ooh slowly adapt and grow after centuries of environmental trauma, Stephen nurtures life back into balance, gently coaxing fractured beings toward wholeness. Both universes suggest that the essence of rebirth is not sudden, dramatic, or loud. It is subtle, persistent, and often requires care that is patient and intentional. And in these children of rebirth, we see a unique interplay between inherited power and emergent identity. Stephen's gem abilities are formidable, yet his most profound impact comes from his choices, his empathy, and his willingness to understand others. Finn's courage and resourcefulness are legendary, yet what makes him remarkable is his ability to connect, to inspire, and to act in accordance with the moral currents that pulse quietly through his world. Both children reveal that the universe values not only strength or structure, but the delicate integration of self with the environment and others. In observing them, we can also see a subtle echo of the maker's influence. The diamonds imbued gems with light, clarity, and purpose, yet they could not anticipate the depth of Stephen's compassion. The primal energies of Ooh gave birth to the elementals, yet they could not predict Finn's human capacity for adaptation, bravery, or love. These children, then, represent something the makers themselves could not fully script. The blossoming of potential when intention meets freedom, when energy meets choice, when light or essence meets heart. There is a beautiful symmetry here. Stephen bridges worlds through empathy, understanding the complexity of gemkind while embodying humanity. Finn bridges worlds through action and imagination, connecting with creatures, humans, and elemental forces alike. Both are inheritors of their universe's scars and histories, yet they carry these legacies not as burdens, but as guides. They are living reminders that rebirth is not simply about survival. It is about transformation, about the ability to shape the world in ways that honor both memory and possibility. And as we linger in this thought tonight, we can almost feel the quiet hum that accompanies rebirth. In Stephen's world, it is the soft glow of a gem healing, the gentle pulse of a fusion forming, the tender sound of understanding passed from one being to another. In U, it is the flicker of elemental energy, the whisper of the wind across the ruins, the subtle shift of magic as life adapts and grows anew. Both universes are alive with this resonance, carrying the story of the children who inherit not only the consequences of war, but also the potential for renewal, hope, and gentle, enduring light. And perhaps that is the most extraordinary lesson of the Children of Rebirth, that they do not simply inherit a world, they inherit its possibility. Every act of kindness, every courageous choice, every quiet moment of empathy becomes part of a continuum, stretching back to the makers, forward into the future, and across the multiverse itself. They are living proof that creation, no matter how fractured or complex, continues to breathe, to dream, and to grow through the next generation. As we continue to drift through these reflections tonight, it is comforting to imagine Stephen and Finn walking their respective worlds, each step a gentle act of healing, each choice a quiet expansion of the universe's memory. They are children of rebirth not only because they follow the aftermath of destruction, but because they transform it, turning scars into stories, pain into compassion, and history into living, breathing hope. As we follow Stephen and Finn through the quiet rhythms of their worlds, it becomes clear that the Children of Rebirth do more than inherit history. They reshape it. Stephen, with every act of healing, reframes the legacy of the Gem Empire. He transforms rigid expectations into living lessons of love and understanding. When he holds a corrupted gem in his arms, when he sings softly to ease pain and fear, he does more than restore form. He restores purpose, choice, and the capacity to feel. In that soft, luminous work, Stephen reminds us that rebirth is not sudden or violent, but a process that unfolds gently over time. Finn, too, embodies this quiet transformation. In the chaotic world of U, where magic and elemental energy ripple unpredictably, Finn's courage and empathy ripple outward. He does not rebuild cities or craft entire civilizations, but he nurtures life in ways both small and profound. A word of comfort to a lonely creature, a courageous stand against injustice, or a playful interaction with the natural magic around him. All these acts contribute to the subtle healing of a scarred world. Finn demonstrates that rebirth is as much about cultivating relationships and understanding as it is about grand gestures. Both children illustrate a shared truth, that the legacy of war or catastrophe is never fixed. It is alive, pliable, and capable of transformation when met with intention and care. The worlds they inhabit are not static. They breathe, they shift, and they respond to the choices of those who live within them. And this responsiveness is what makes them so extraordinary. Each act of compassion, each moment of empathy, resonates like a faint pulse across the fabric of the multiverse, bridging past and future, creation and experience. It is fascinating to consider how the Children of Rebirth reflect the fundamental rhythms of their universes. In Stephen's world, the gem's structured light is tempered by emotion, reshaped through experience, and renewed through empathy. In U, the elemental's chaotic essence is given focus, form, and purpose through interaction, observation, and choice. Both universes show us that life is not merely a consequence of creation, but a dynamic dialogue between energy, intention, and experience. The Children of Rebirth are the living continuation of this dialogue, carrying forward lessons embedded in both structure and chaos. And yet these children are not perfect. Their journeys are marked by missteps, doubts, and the quiet struggle to understand the complexities of their worlds. Stephen wrestles with the weight of expectation, with the memories of the gems he has healed, and with the responsibility to honor his mother's legacy while charting his own path. Finn navigates uncertainty, loss, and the ever-present shadow of history's scars, learning to act with integrity while accepting that outcomes are rarely entirely within his control. These imperfections are not failures. They are vital expressions of growth. They remind us that rebirth is not a state, but a process, and that true transformation requires patience, persistence, and reflection. Through these struggles, both Stephen and Finn become mirrors of the worlds they inhabit. They reveal that healing and rebirth are as much about internal development as external change. The restoration of a corrupted gem, the adaptation of an elemental, or the gentle shaping of relationships within their communities. All these acts demonstrate the profound capacity of life to evolve in the aftermath of destruction. The Children of Rebirth are, in essence, the living embodiment of hope. A soft, persistent reminder that even in worlds scarred by catastrophe, renewal is possible. And so, as we rest here in the quiet glow of these reflections tonight, we can imagine the Children of Rebirth moving through their worlds, carrying with them the weight of history and the promise of the future. Every act of empathy, courage, and love becomes part of an ongoing, multiversal song echoing through time, space, and possibility. Stephen and Finn are more than characters. They are conduits, living reminders that the universe, even in its vastness and complexity, continues to breathe, to heal, and to dream anew. And as we linger in the gentle rhythm of their worlds, we can begin to perceive the subtle ways in which the Children of Rebirth connect not only with their immediate surroundings, but with the very currents of the multiverse itself. Stephen's empathy is not confined to the gems he heals. It resonates outward, touching the delicate balance of homeworld's energy and the quiet potential of Earth. Finn's bravery and compassion ripple through influencing the elementals, the creatures, and even the remnants of humanity, reminding them that life, though scarred, is never without possibility. Their actions, though small in isolation, accumulate over time, forming the invisible threads that weave the fabric of renewal across both universes. Consider the nature of inheritance that these children bear. They inherit the echoes of immense events, the war before memory, the gem empire's rigid order, the chaos of the Mushroom War. But they also inherit potential. They inherit the quiet knowledge that creation itself is a process, that life is not a static design, but an evolving dialogue between energy, form, and experience. And they demonstrate through their journeys that even in the wake of devastation, the next generation holds the power to transform the world, to reinterpret history, and to foster growth where others may have seen only decay. It is worth pausing to reflect on the symbolic resonance of their actions. Stephen, with his healing infusion, embodies the principle that light, when paired with empathy, can restore and elevate. Finn, with his courage and care, embodies the principle that chaos, when guided by intention, can nurture and protect. Together, they remind us that rebirth is not about erasing the past or undoing destruction. It is about embracing the remnants, the scars and memories, and weaving them into something new. Each act of kindness, each moment of courage, becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of renewal, a soft, deliberate gesture that shapes not only their worlds, but the broader multiversal resonance. There is also a quiet intimacy in observing how these children navigate the legacies of those who came before them. Stephen does not reject the legacy of Rose Quartz. Instead, he interprets it, reshapes it, and carries it forward in a way that aligns with his own understanding and empathy. Finn does not attempt to recreate the lost human civilization. He learns from its remnants, adapts to the present, and nurtures life in forms that the world itself requires. In both cases, rebirth is less about replication and more about transformation. It is the gentle act of listening to what the world needs now, informed by the echoes of what it once was. We can also observe the way these children influence the worlds around them in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Stephen's light encourages reflection in the gems he interacts with, leading them to question, to feel, to grow beyond their original programming. Finn's presence inspires courage and care in Oo's creatures, guiding them to act in ways they might not have otherwise considered. In both cases, the Children of Rebirth serve as catalysts for the ongoing evolution of life, proving that even the softest influence can yield profound transformation when applied with patience and love. And yet these children are themselves shaped by the worlds they inhabit. Stephen absorbs the struggles and complexities of gem society, the rigid expectations of the diamonds, and the lessons of fusion and empathy, which in turn deepen his capacity to act with understanding. Finn absorbs the chaos and vitality of Ooh, the history of human folly, and the energy of elementals, which in turn expand his ability to respond creatively and compassionately. In this way, rebirth is both inherited and cultivated, a continuous interplay between environment, experience, and the choices of those who emerge into a world that is never quite finished. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the Children of Rebirth is their ability to embody reconciliation. They inhabit worlds fractured by conflict, yet they carry within themselves the potential to heal those fractures. Stephen reconciles love and duty, light and empathy, past and present. Finn reconciles chaos and responsibility, loss and hope, the remnants of history and the promise of the future. Both remind us that rebirth is not only about survival, but about integration, about taking the pieces of a shattered world and learning to make them whole again, one quiet, deliberate act at a time. And in these quiet acts, there is a profound lesson for the dreamer listening tonight. The Children of Rebirth teach us that transformation is gentle, persistent, and cumulative. It is not always visible in the moment, but it ripples outward, shaping environments, relationships, and even the underlying currents of energy that bind worlds together. Stephen and Finn are proof that even after the most devastating events, life continues to seek balance, understanding, and renewal, offering us a tender, enduring vision of hope. As we allow our minds to settle into this reflection, imagine the Children of Rebirth moving through their respective worlds. Picture Stephen walking among gems, his touch leaving trails of healing light, his voice carrying reassurance and understanding. Picture Finn wandering through Ooh, his courage and kindness touching creatures and elementals alike, guiding them gently toward growth and balance. In every step, in every interaction, the universe whispers its quiet message, that rebirth is always possible, that life persists, and that even in worlds shaped by destruction, the gentle pulse of hope and renewal endures. And now, in the hushed stillness of this thought, we can see just how profound the presence of the Children of Rebirth truly is. They are the living continuation of history, yet they are also the unexpected surprise that history could never fully anticipate. Stephen and Finn, in their quiet, deliberate ways, carry forward lessons embedded deep within their worlds, the echoes of past wars, the memory of immense loss, the remnants of power, and the quiet insistence of life itself to endure and grow. Stephen's journey illustrates how rebirth is intertwined with empathy. Every time he approaches a corrupted gem, he does so not with judgment, but with understanding. The act of reaching out is itself transformative, allowing the light within the gem to respond to his touch, to rediscover its original essence, and to grow beyond the rigid definitions imposed by homeworld. Each moment is a gentle negotiation between the past and the present, between structure and feeling, between inherited purpose and emergent identity. In these moments, rebirth is not merely restoration, it is evolution, subtle and deliberate, like water slowly shaping stone over centuries. Finn, in the vibrant chaos of Ooh, performs a similar role. His courage and empathy ripple through his world in ways both obvious and imperceptible. A creature soothed by his presence, an elemental influence to temper its energy, a friend inspired to act with compassion. These are the quiet manifestations of rebirth in action. Finn's interactions demonstrate that healing and transformation do not always need grand gestures. Sometimes the mere act of presence, the conscious decision to engage with care and integrity, is enough to set waves of change in motion. It is worth noting how both children, in their respective worlds, embody the integration of what has been lost with what is possible. Stephen does not erase the mistakes or the rigid hierarchies of homeworld. He acknowledges them, learns from them, and gently reshapes them through his example and choices. Finn does not reconstruct the human civilizations that fell in the Mushroom War. He honors their memory by nurturing the life that remains, by guiding and protecting what has survived, and by encouraging growth in forms that the world itself needs. Both act as stewards, not rulers, allowing life to flourish organically while gently nudging it toward balance and harmony. In observing the Children of Rebirth, we also perceive a profound reflection on the nature of identity and potential. Both Stephen and Finn are, in a sense, vessels for the latent possibilities embedded in their universes. Stephen carries within him the capacity for empathy, fusion, and healing beyond what the diamonds could have foreseen. Finn carries within him the courage, adaptability, and moral insight that the chaotic elemental world of O requires to stabilize and thrive. They are the living proofs that the next generation does not merely inherit the world. It reshapes it, reinterprets it, and expands its possibilities in ways that honor the past while embracing the future. There is also a subtle, almost spiritual rhythm to their existence, a quiet resonance that links their actions to the ongoing flow of the multiverse. Stephen's light pulses gently, carrying memory, intention, and care. Finn's presence echoes through the energy of the elementals, influencing growth, adaptation, and balance. Both operate within a larger pattern, a soft hum of life that connects worlds across distance and difference. Even unaware of each other's existence, they reflect the same cosmic principles, that light and essence, structure and emotion, past and potential, can coexist and interact in harmony. And it is in this interplay that we begin to see the true magic of rebirth, its cumulative effect. Each act, no matter how small, contributes to the ongoing shaping of the world. A healed gem, a soothed elemental, a single courageous choice, a gentle word of reassurance. These are all small but significant acts that, over time, ripple outward, influencing ecosystems, communities, and the very flow of energy within the universe. The Children of Rebirth demonstrate that renewal is not instantaneous, but gradual, persistent, and deeply intertwined with the choices of those who live in the aftermath of great events. Perhaps most beautifully, Stephen and Finn remind us that rebirth is not about perfection. They stumble, they doubt, they make mistakes, but in each misstep, there is growth. In each moment of uncertainty, there is learning. In each act of courage or empathy, no matter how quiet, there is transformation. The universe, through these children, teaches us that rebirth is an ongoing process, an evolving dance between memory and potential, between inherited legacy and emergent possibility. And as we let our minds rest in this gentle understanding tonight, imagine Stephen walking softly through the quiet corridors of Homeworld, his light illuminating the way for those who have lost their path. Picture Finn wandering through the vibrant, yet scarred landscapes of Ooh, his presence a steadying influence, encouraging life to grow, adapt, and flourish. In every step, in every touch, in every soft, deliberate choice, the Children of Rebirth carry forward the quiet promise of renewal. They remind us that life persists, that energy transforms, and that even in worlds shaped by catastrophe, the gentle pulse of hope continues to guide all who dream, grow, and awaken. In the end, the Children of Rebirth are more than heirs to history. They are its soft, enduring heartbeat. They remind us that even in the quietest moments, even in the aftermath of destruction, life continues its gentle, persistent work of healing, shaping, and dreaming. And in this quiet understanding, we can drift a little further into sleep, carried by the soft, luminous presence of worlds renewed, by the gentle pulse of hope that lives in every gem, every elemental, and every child who inherits a universe ready to dream again. We step into a quiet, luminous corridor of the multiverse, a realm where universes whisper to one another and subtle connections hum just beyond the perception of most beings. This is where Prismo's cube resides, an object that is less an object and more a locus of potential, a fulcrum of causality, and a silent witness to the ebb and flow of countless worlds. It is here, in the gentle folds of existence, that the light of gems and the essence of elementals can intersect in ways that feel almost like dreaming while awake. Prismo himself is an enigma of slowness and patience. He does not act with haste, nor does he impose change directly. His influence is quiet, reflective, and precise. Within the confines of his time room, the cube becomes a conduit, a bridge between what is, what was, and what could be. And in this space, the universes we have been exploring, the ordered light of Homeworld, and the fluid, emotional essence of Ooh, can touch one another in subtle ways. This is the light warp, a gentle bending of reality that allows energy, intention, and possibility to resonate across dimensions, a kind of cosmic lullaby that hums softly beneath the surface of existence. It is remarkable to consider how Prismo's cube operates in relation to the worlds of Steven Universe and Adventure Time. The cube does not dictate outcomes. It does not force light to shine or essence to flow. Instead, it provides a space where choices can manifest, where probability can ripple outward into reality, and where the soft resonance of intention can gently shift the trajectories of entire universes. The gem's structured light, for instance, might refract through the cube in subtle ways, allowing possibilities that the diamonds never anticipated. The elemental's fluid essence may find new expressions, new alignments, or new purposes as it interacts with the delicate warp of light and time that the cube facilitates. Think for a moment about the philosophical beauty of this. In a sense, Prismo's cube is a reflection of the maker's original intentions, but viewed through the lens of reflection and potential rather than command. The diamond shaped gems with precision, embedding purpose and hierarchy into their very being. The elementals emerge from emotional energy, evolving and adapting through experience. Prismo, in his quiet way, provides a gentle space for these energies to converge, intersect, and perhaps even learn from one another. It is a form of multiversal empathy, a soft recognition that light and essence, order and chaos, are parts of the same cosmic current, and that the future is always open to variation. The light warp itself is not something that can be observed in a linear sense. It is not a portal, a tunnel, or a bridge in any traditional way. It is a subtle distortion of causality, a soft bending of the rules that govern how energy moves through time and space. When a gem refracts light through it, the patterns of possibility may shift, revealing outcomes that would otherwise remain hidden. When an elemental flows through it, their essence may ripple outward in new directions, influencing other forms of life in ways both small and profound. The cube does not create, it invites and it listens. It is a quiet reflection of the universe's innate desire to experiment, to explore, and to discover new harmonies within existing frameworks. And there is a delicate poetry in imagining how Stephen and Finn might experience such a phenomenon. Stephen, with his innate empathy and connection to gems, could touch the warp of light with his very being, sensing variations in possibility and understanding how different choices ripple outward across dimensions. Finn, attuned to the living essence of ooh, might feel the subtle currents of the light warp in a different way, responding instinctively to the shifts of energy, perceiving the gentle tug of potential that lies just beyond the horizon of immediate perception. Both children, in their own ways, are bridges themselves, conduits through which the subtle currents of causality and resonance can move and manifest. And in this quiet, reflective space, it becomes apparent that the light warp is more than a tool. It is a metaphor for the universes themselves. Gems and elementals are not static. Their energy is alive, responsive, and capable of interaction in ways that transcend simple cause and effect. The cube and the warp are reminders that potential exists not just in creation itself, but in the spaces between actions, in the pauses, the choices, the soft gestures that shape reality as much as force or intention ever could. It is almost impossible not to feel a sense of calm when considering the implications of Prismo's cube. It is a gentle, omnipresent reminder that the universe is alive with possibility, that even the most structured light or the most fluid essence can find resonance with something beyond itself. The warp invites patience, reflection, and quiet observation. It suggests that outcomes are not fixed, that life, whether crystal, elemental, or human, is a collaborative dance between what is given and what is discovered. And so as we drift alongside the hum of the light warp tonight, we can imagine the universes breathing in tandem, their energies folding softly across dimensions. Gems may refract in new patterns, elementals may ripple with subtle new movements, and the children of rebirth may sense the infinite threads of possibility that stretch between their worlds. In this way, the cube is not merely a locus of power. It is a soft, luminous reminder that creation, in all its forms, remains a dialogue, gentle, persistent, and endlessly open to wonder. The resonance of the cube extends even further when we consider the delicate interplay of time within its chamber. Past, present, and potential coexist in a space that is unbound by linear expectation. A single choice, a single act of understanding or empathy can ripple across epochs, subtly reshaping outcomes in ways that might only be visible much later. Stephen's light, refracted through the warp, might touch a gem centuries before it is born, planting the seed of empathy that will bloom in its own time. Finn's courage might echo backward, influencing the behavior of an elemental long before he steps onto ooze soil. The warp does not manipulate life. It amplifies the quiet power of intention, allowing it to echo across space and time, carrying both reflection and possibility into the broader multiverse. And in witnessing this, we come to appreciate a profound truth, that Prismo's cube and the light warp are not separate from the Children of Rebirth, the makers, or the universes they inhabit. They are extensions of the same cosmic principle, a gentle, persistent reminder that energy, intention, and choice are always interwoven, that light and essence can resonate in harmony, and that the future remains softly, infinitely malleable in the hands of those who listen, observe, and act with care. The more we dwell on the nature of the light warp, the more it feels like a lullaby whispered between worlds. It does not force or command. It merely offers a space for reflection, for subtle resonance, and for possibility to unfurl at its own pace. Gems, with their structured light, may carry within them the echoes of past choices, but the warp allows those echoes to interact with unformed potential, to explore variations that the diamonds never envisioned. Elementals, too, find that their shifting essences can ripple in unexpected ways, guided not by necessity but by the soft currents of chance and intention that move through the warp. Stephen, as a child of rebirth and empathy, would sense this in his very being. His ability to connect with gems and perceive their emotions might extend into the warp, allowing him to feel the faint, overlapping pulses of possibility, the gentle tug of outcomes yet unrealized. Finn, attuned to the living essence of Oo, might perceive the light warp in his own way, sensing the subtle flows of energy that carry life forward, nudging elementals toward adaptation, growth, or alignment with new patterns. Both children, in their innocence and openness, exemplify the principle of resonance, the notion that even the smallest gestures can interact with the threads of the multiverse to shape outcomes in ways that are profound and lasting. It is fascinating to think about the warp as a mirror of creation itself. The makers, whether diamonds or the primal energies of Oo, imbued their worlds with intention, purpose, and structure. Yet the warp reminds us that intention is never fixed. It flows, refracts, and interacts with life as it unfolds. Each act of healing, each act of courage, each act of empathy carries forward through this subtle medium, allowing choices to ripple outward, influencing both structure and essence. In this sense, the light warp is not merely a tool or mechanism. It is a reflection of the multiverse's own gentle, persistent desire to explore, adapt, and harmonize. And there is an almost meditative beauty in imagining how these interactions occur. A gem's light refracted through the warp might softly illuminate possibilities for another gem centuries later. An elemental's essence, shifted and guided by the warp, might subtly influence the growth of other beings or even the terrain itself. Stephen's empathy and Finn's courage, refracted through the same medium, might plant seeds of understanding that bloom across time, space, and dimension. The light warp is a quiet amplifier of potential, a gentle reminder that even the smallest act can carry significance far beyond immediate perception. In many ways, the cube and the warp embody a philosophy that resonates deeply with the themes of both Steven Universe and Adventure Time. Power alone does not define creation. It is the careful interaction between energy, intention, and consciousness that shapes meaningful outcomes. Gems and elementals, Stephen and Finn, all operate within this principle, and the warp provides a medium through which the universe can experiment with the interplay of these forces. It is an invitation to reflect, to observe, and to participate in the ongoing dialogue between light and essence, structure and emotion, past and possibility. The warp also highlights the delicate interconnectedness of the multiverse. Actions in one corner of existence may reverberate softly across vast distances and temporal spans. A choice made by Stephen in the home world could subtly influence the behavior of gems elsewhere. Finn's decisions in Ooh might ripple through elemental patterns, shaping growth and adaptation in ways that even he could not predict. Prismo's cube serves as a quiet anchor for these interactions, a place where intention and potential meet, where energy can bend without breaking, and where universes can touch one another without collision. It is this gentle interconnectedness that makes the light warp such a perfect metaphor for the themes we have been exploring tonight. Rebirth, transformation, healing, and empathy are all processes that unfold over time, interacting with forces both known and hidden. Just as Stephen and Finn embody the potential for renewal in their worlds, the warp embodies the potential for alignment, resonance, and subtle influence across dimensions. It teaches that creation is never finished, that energy is always evolving, and that even the quietest actions can echo throughout the multiverse in ways both beautiful and unexpected. And as we allow ourselves to rest in this thought tonight, we can imagine the quiet glow of the cube in its time room, the gentle pulses of the light warp radiating outward. Gems refract light in new patterns, elementals shift with subtle, resonant motion, and the children of rebirth move gracefully through their worlds, each step, touch, and choice a soft contribution to the ongoing harmony of existence. The warp does not rush, does not demand, it simply exists, offering a space for life to interact, to grow, and to dream across the infinite corridors of reality. In this moment, we can rest with the understanding that the universe, in all its vastness and complexity, is never static. Light bends, essence flows, and intention carries quietly through the spaces between worlds. Prismo's cube and the light warp it embodies remind us that life is a gentle dialogue, an unfolding process of possibility, and that even the smallest act of care or courage can resonate across the fabric of existence. And as we drift further into this realization, it becomes clear that the multiverse is always alive with quiet wonder, patiently awaiting the touch of those willing to dream, heal, and create anew. And as we continue to float within the soft currents of the light warp, it becomes apparent that Prismo's cube is more than a cosmic tool. It is a reflection of the universe's patient, persistent curiosity. The cube does not intervene with force or authority. It offers possibilities, gently holding them in suspension, allowing life itself to explore, to learn, and to respond. Within this quiet space, the light of gems and the fluid essence of elementals are free to ripple outward, influencing outcomes in ways both profound and subtle, far beyond the immediate perception of any individual being. Imagine Stephen, standing quietly in the time room, feeling the subtle vibrations of the light warp extend through his very being. His touch could refract possibilities in ways that amplify understanding, empathy, and healing. Every act of kindness he performs, every gem he helps restore, resonates through the warp, sending echoes across dimensions, touching timelines, and influencing choices in ways he might never witness directly. In this sense, Stephen becomes both participant and observer, a living embodiment of the gentle potential that the cube amplifies. Finn, too, would interact with the warp in his own way. As he wanders through Ooh, his courage and moral intuition align with the shifting currents of energy and essence that ripple quietly through the universe. The light warp does not force him to act. Rather, it offers subtle guidance, illuminating patterns of potential that Finn might perceive instinctively. nudging him toward acts that promote balance, growth, and understanding. In both universes, the warp acts as a soft, invisible hand, fostering connection and resonance without dictating outcome. It is in this interplay that the deeper meaning of the light warp begins to emerge. The cube, in its quiet patience, mirrors the philosophy we have been tracing through these worlds, that creation is never truly finished, that energy and intention are in constant dialogue, and that life continues to evolve through observation, reflection, and interaction. Gems, elementals, children of rebirth, they all participate in this ongoing process. Each light pulse, each subtle shift in essence, each choice made with care becomes a note in a multiversal symphony that is quietly, endlessly composing itself. Consider, too, the poetic symmetry of reflection within the warp. The light of a gem, structured and deliberate, bends and refracts through the cube, interacting with potential in ways that might produce new outcomes, new insights, or new harmonies. The shifting essence of an elemental, ever fluid and emotionally responsive, can ripple through the same warp, aligning with light in ways that suggest shared origins and latent resonance between seemingly disparate universes. In these quiet interactions, the warp becomes a bridge not only between worlds, but between principles, the ordered and the chaotic, structure and freedom, intention and emergence. Prismo's cube also invites us to reflect on the importance of patience. Change, growth, and renewal do not unfold instantly. The light warp demonstrates that possibilities can exist in suspension, waiting for the right conditions, the right moment, or the right being to activate them. Stephen and Finn exemplify this principle. Their choices, their empathy, their courage are not hurried, but deliberate and thoughtful, allowing the multiverse to respond in kind. The warp amplifies this rhythm, honoring the natural cadence of life and the gentle unfolding of potential across time and space. It is tempting to imagine entire patterns of cause and effect, stretching beyond immediate perception, subtly influenced by the warp. A small act of healing by Stephen may ripple across light years and decades, influencing a gem that will not yet exist. A quiet act of bravery by Finn may shift the behavior of an elemental, altering the growth of life across an unseen region of ooh. These echoes are soft, gentle, and often imperceptible, yet they form the invisible threads that weave together the multiverse, connecting light, essence, and intention in a harmonious, persistent flow. And within this quiet connectivity, there lies a profound sense of continuity. Prismo's cube reminds us that the multiverse is not composed merely of discrete events or isolated worlds, but of relationships, resonance, and reflection. Gems and elementals, Stephen and Finn, past and future, possibility and action. They all interact within this framework, participating in a gentle, ongoing dialogue that is subtle, patient, and deeply interconnected. The warp holds these threads with care, amplifying potential without imposing direction, creating a space where life, choice, and energy can harmonize. We can even sense the aesthetic and poetic qualities of the light warp as it stretches across dimensions. It is not rigid or linear. It is a soft, shimmering field where light bends, essence flows, and probabilities shimmer like the surface of a quiet lake under moonlight. Within this luminous expanse, creation continues in a slow, contemplative rhythm, allowing energy to ripple, interact, and coalesce in patterns that are endlessly inventive, yet always gentle. The warp does not demand attention, but invites it, encouraging those attuned to perception, like Stephen and Finn, to notice the quiet potential that surrounds them and to participate consciously in the ongoing shaping of life across the universes. And so, as we rest within this reflective space tonight, it becomes clear that Prismo's cube and the light warp embody a principle that resonates across worlds, that life, intention, and energy are in constant, gentle dialogue. Gems and elementals, children of rebirth, and even the forces that shape their origins, all are participants in a delicate, multiversal interplay. Each act of empathy, courage, or understanding contributes to the ongoing symphony of existence, carried along softly by the warp, reverberating across dimensions and weaving new harmonies into the fabric of reality. The cube does not rush, it does not demand, and it does not dictate. It simply exists as a quiet, luminous anchor for possibility, allowing the gentle pulse of the multiverse to be felt, nurtured, and expanded in ways that are as soft as they are profound. And now, as we let ourselves sink fully into the quiet resonance of Prismo's cube and the light warp, we begin to perceive the subtle poetry that exists in the interactions between worlds. The warp is not a bridge in the conventional sense, nor is it a tool to be wielded. It is a reflective space, a chamber of potential where energy, intention, and choice gently mingle. In this chamber, the light of gems and the flowing essence of elementals do not clash. They converse, refract, and resonate. Each pulse, each flicker, carries meaning, even if that meaning is invisible to those living outside its rhythm. The cube's patient observation allows us to see patterns that might otherwise remain unnoticed. Stephen's light, suffused with empathy, can ripple softly through the warp, touching a gem long before it has fully crystallized, guiding its potential in ways that honor both origin and possibility. Finn's courage, his instinctive understanding of the living energy of Ooh, resonates similarly, nudging elementals toward growth and alignment that may only fully reveal themselves much later. The warp acts as a canvas for the quiet symphony of these forces, allowing intention to harmonize across dimensions, time, and the subtle boundaries that separate worlds. It is also intriguing to consider the reflective qualities of the warp itself. It does not merely transmit energy, it refracts it, bending light and essence in new ways that create multiple potential outcomes simultaneously. A single action, a word of encouragement, a moment of bravery, a touch of healing, can ripple outward, splitting into countless threads of possibility. Some threads may converge, some may diverge, and some may take paths so subtle that they escape notice entirely. This multiplicity is not chaos. It is the gentle logic of the multiverse, a careful balancing act in which potential is preserved, explored, and harmonized without coercion. Stephen and Finn, as the children of rebirth, exemplify this principle with every choice they make. Stephen's healing is never rushed. It is considered reflective and infused with deep understanding. Finn's interactions are guided by instinct, empathy, and courage, allowing him to respond to the world around him in ways that feel organic and meaningful. Through the lens of the warp, these acts are amplified, not artificially, but as natural extensions of the multiverse's soft, enduring rhythm. Each act contributes to a tapestry of possibility that stretches across time and space, subtly influencing outcomes that may only come to fruition in epochs yet to be lived. The light warp also illuminates a deeper truth about the nature of potential and agency. In both Steven Universe and Adventure Time, we see worlds where history has left scars and energy has been fractured. Gems and elementals carry the legacy of their creation, the echoes of wars and the weight of past intentions. Yet the warp suggests that these legacies are not prisons. They are living reservoirs of possibility, capable of transformation when engaged with care, awareness, and empathy. It is a quiet reminder that even in worlds shaped by immense events, the future is never fully determined. In many ways, the warp functions as a meditation on the interconnectedness of life, intention, and energy. It teaches that every being, whether gem, elemental, or child of rebirth, participates in the ongoing shaping of reality. Stephen and Finn are uniquely sensitive to this flow, yet the principle extends to all forms of existence. Every choice, no matter how small, contributes to the symphony of the multiverse. Even the simplest act, offering comfort, showing understanding, or acting with courage, resonates across space and time, gently influencing the unfolding narrative of life itself. And there is an almost lyrical beauty to the way the warp carries energy without forcing it. Gems and elementals, light and essence, structured intention and emotional flow, all coexist within this space, interacting without conflict, creating harmony through subtle resonance rather than coercion. It is a vision of creation that is patient, contemplative, and endlessly inventive. A reminder that life thrives not through domination or strict control, but through careful attention, reflection, and gentle guidance. Prismo's cube, in this sense, is a quiet teacher. It shows that power need not be loud, and influence need not be forceful. The warp encourages reflection, patience, and awareness, demonstrating that the most profound effects often arise from the softest interactions. Stephen and Finn, as participants in this process, model this philosophy in their own ways. Through empathy, courage, and deliberate choice, they allow the energy of their worlds to unfold naturally, harmonizing with the gentle pulse of possibility carried by the warp. And as we rest within this vision tonight, it becomes possible to feel the subtle interweaving of worlds, the delicate hum of resonance that connects light, essence, and intention across the multiverse. Gems refract softly, elementals ripple with quiet motion, and the children of rebirth move gently through their environments, each act a thread in a tapestry that is constantly being woven. Prismo's cube does not demand attention, yet its presence reminds us that the universe is alive with potential, patiently awaiting the touch of beings attuned to the soft currents of creation. Finally, we can imagine the light warp as a lullaby itself, a song carried across dimensions, soft and persistent, inviting worlds to interact, resonate, and evolve. Stephen's healing, Finn's courage, the gentle pulses of gems and elementals all contribute to this quiet melody, forming a multiversal harmony that continues endlessly, patiently, and beautifully. In this space, the past and future meet, potential and action converge, and the universe itself seems to breathe, reminding us that creation is never truly finished, but always open, fluid, and filled with quiet wonder. Tonight we drift alongside these reflections, carried by the soft, luminous currents of the warp, feeling the gentle rhythm of the multiverse as it expands, refracts, and harmonizes across space, time, and possibility, leaving us in a state of calm contemplation, ready to explore the next quiet chapter of our parallel dream. As we arrive at the final gentle stretch of tonight's journey, let us take a deep breath together and imagine two worlds, two universes, quietly breathing as one. There is a rhythm here, a pulse that is soft, deliberate, and persistent, as if the cosmos itself exhales in sync with life across dimensions. The parallel dream we have been wandering through, the quiet reflections of Steven Universe and Adventure Time, culminates in this moment where light and essence, structure and fluidity, empathy and courage converge into a shared, almost meditative experience. It is in this breathing, in this gentle alignment, that the children of rebirth, the gems, the elementals, and even the subtle hum of Prismo's cube find resonance. Stephen, walking softly among gems, radiates a quiet light that touches hearts and minds in ways that words cannot capture. Finn, wandering through Ooh, moves with instinct and care, his presence a stabilizing and nurturing force among beings of every shape and nature. In this shared rhythm, their worlds are no longer entirely separate. They ripple together softly in patterns that are imperceptible to most, yet profoundly real in the quiet spaces between moments. Consider how this convergence might manifest. It is not a dramatic collision of worlds, nor a sudden merging of realities. It is subtle, almost imperceptible, a quiet reflection of harmony that exists because both universes operate on principles that, beneath the surface, are remarkably similar. Both gems and elementals are born from energy that predates memory, from currents that stretch across time and experience. Both worlds have been shaped by conflict, by war, and by the remnants of civilizations that have left traces, scars, and lessons in their wake. And both worlds demonstrate, through the Children of Rebirth, that renewal is possible when care, empathy, and courage guide action. In this parallel breathing, light and essence meet not with friction, but with a gentle curiosity, a quiet dialogue that invites exploration and understanding. A gem's crystalline light may refract through the ambient energies of Ooh, subtly influencing an elemental's flow, just as an elemental's fluid essence might resonate with a gem, nudging its reflection in new directions. Stephen and Finn, as sensitive conduits, are able to perceive and engage with these currents, whether consciously or instinctively. Every gesture, every touch, every act of care becomes part of a multiversal conversation, soft and deliberate, that shapes the potential of both worlds without ever forcing it. There is a rhythm here that mirrors breathing itself. The inhalation is the gathering of possibility, the silent acknowledgement of history, intention, and potential. The exhalation is the gentle unfolding of life, the soft release of energy into action, and the quiet ripple of change across space and time. This rhythm carries through every interaction between gems and elementals, every moment of courage from Finn, every act of empathy from Stephen. The dream breathes together because these currents of action, reflection, and potential are interconnected, weaving a pattern that transcends boundaries while remaining intimate and immediate. It is fascinating to observe how this shared breath allows the universes to learn from one another. Stephen's empathy, his ability to feel and heal, may inspire subtle shifts in the behavior of elementals, guiding them toward more harmonious interactions with their environment. Finn's courage and instinctive care may, in turn, inform the subtle energies of gems, encouraging reflection, balance, and growth within forms that were once rigidly defined. In the quiet of this multiversal alignment, there is no need for instruction, no imperative to act, only the gentle guidance that arises from resonance, from understanding, and from shared presence. The concept of rebirth reaches its fullest expression in this breathing together. The scars of history are acknowledged, yet they are not allowed to define the present. Past conflicts, lost civilizations, and the residual weight of creation itself are absorbed into the rhythm of life, transformed by the soft, consistent pulse of care, intention, and reflection. Stephen and Finn, by existing as bridges between the inherited legacies and the unfolding present, allow both worlds to breathe in tandem. In this breathing, the dream becomes a living, evolving entity, carrying the lessons of the past and the promise of the future with gentle continuity. It is also worth noting the subtle influence of Prismo's cube in this shared rhythm. Though quiet, almost imperceptible, the warp continues to resonate through both worlds. It amplifies the gentle gestures of Stephen and Finn, allowing each act of courage, empathy, or care to ripple outward beyond immediate perception. Light and essence, structured order and fluid chaos respond to these ripples, shifting imperceptibly but meaningfully in alignment with the multiverse's own pulse. In this sense, the light warp acts not as a controller of outcomes, but as a patient amplifier of harmony, reinforcing the quiet rhythm of rebirth and connection between universes. And as we sink further into the imagery of this moment, it becomes clear that this shared breathing is, at its core, a meditation on interconnectedness. Life, energy, intention, and choice do not exist in isolation. Every pulse of light, every ripple of essence, every moment of empathy or courage contributes to the ongoing symphony of existence. The universes, though distinct, are harmonized through the soft touch of awareness, the deliberate act of presence, and the patient unfolding of possibility. In this shared rhythm, even the quietest gestures carry weight, echoing softly across dimensions, guiding the flow of life and light with gentle insistence. If we pause now and allow ourselves to imagine the scene fully, we can see Stephen and Finn standing quietly, each attuned to their respective worlds, yet subtly aware of the broader resonance that connects them. Gems shimmer softly in response to the ambient currents of ooh, and elementals ripple gently, their forms reflecting refracted pulses of crystalline light. The multiverse itself seems to exhale with a soft, unified sigh, acknowledging the delicate interplay of creation, intention, and care that unfolds across dimensions. It is a breathing together that is patient, rhythmic, and deeply tender, a lullaby written not in words but in energy, light, and essence. And as we let this vision settle, imagine ourselves resting within it, feeling the slow, deliberate pulse of worlds aligning in harmony. Every act of courage, empathy, or reflection becomes part of the shared rhythm, joining the symphony of life as it unfolds across time and space. The dream breathes together, carrying both the history of what has been and the quiet promise of what is yet to come, inviting us to rest, to reflect, and to be present in the gentle, luminous continuity of the multiverse. And as we drift further into this shared rhythm, it becomes evident that the universes do not merely coexist. They converse. They exchange subtle messages through the gentle language of energy, light, and essence. Stephen's empathy radiates outward, touching not just individual gems, but the broader patterns of homeworld itself. Finn's courage and compassion ripple across ooh, guiding elementals and living creatures toward equilibrium and growth. These are quiet acts, often unnoticed in the moment. Yet their resonance travels across the multiverse, knitting together possibilities, choices, and potential into a delicate tapestry that spans dimensions. This conversation between worlds is not loud or intrusive. It is soft, reflective, and patient, like the whisper of leaves in a warm nighttime breeze. The light warp of Prismo's cube amplifies these subtle exchanges, allowing the pulse of life and the spark of intention to travel farther than they could on their own. A single act of kindness from Stephen might gently influence the flow of energy within an elemental hundreds of light years away. A moment of courage from Finn might nudge the light of a gem toward reflection, growth, or healing that would otherwise have remained dormant. The universes, in breathing together, become receptive to these quiet transmissions, allowing possibility to unfold organically and harmoniously. In many ways, this shared breathing is a meditation on the nature of connection itself. Stephen and Finn, as children of rebirth, embody the principle that life flourishes when attention, care, and presence are offered with intention. Yet their influence is never prescriptive. It is reflective, inviting those around them, gems, elementals, and even the remnants of older civilizations, to respond according to their own nature. The light warp functions similarly, creating space for resonance rather than enforcing outcomes. In this way, the multiverse is both patient teacher and attentive listener, supporting growth and transformation without ever imposing control. It is fascinating to imagine the subtle beauty of this process over time. The slow accumulation of choices, the gentle guidance of empathy and courage, the patient unfolding of potential through the light warp. All of these threads weave together into a pattern that is visible only when viewed across vast stretches of time and space. A healed gem, a soothed elemental, a single act of bravery or a word of understanding may seem small in isolation, but through the shared breath of the multiverse, these acts become part of a greater harmonious whole. Every gesture contributes to a symphony that is at once tender, persistent, and profoundly alive. In this space, there is also a reflection on the cyclical nature of creation and rebirth. Past events, long-forgotten conflicts, and echoes of history are absorbed into the rhythm of life rather than erased. The children of rebirth, the gems, and the elementals carry these echoes with them, allowing the lessons of the past to inform gentle growth in the present. The shared breath, supported by the light warp, allows both worlds to evolve in dialogue rather than in isolation. Creation, it seems, is most harmonious when it listens, when it reflects, and when it moves with patience and care. Even the smallest interactions gain significance within this unified rhythm. A gem discovering a new facet of self, an elemental shifting slightly in response to subtle energy, or a child of rebirth choosing compassion over fear. All of these moments are amplified by the warp, flowing outward to influence the broader multiverse. The universes are not static. They are dynamic, responsive, and attuned to the softest pulses of life, demonstrating that every moment, no matter how quiet, carries the potential to shape existence in meaningful ways. As we continue to imagine this shared breathing tonight, we might picture Stephen walking among gems, his light creating soft ripples that extend outward, touching the edges of time and potential. Finn moves through Ooh with similar grace, his presence a stabilizing, guiding force for elementals and living beings alike. Together, even without directly encountering one another, they participate in a multiversal dialogue, their actions harmonizing across the light warp, gently shaping outcomes, nurturing growth, and allowing the universe to unfold with quiet, deliberate patience. This vision invites a deep sense of calm. We can rest within it, imagining the pulse of two worlds sinking softly as if breathing in unison. The light warp hums gently beneath the surface of reality, amplifying subtle choices, reflecting intention, and carrying resonance across dimensions. Stephen and Finn, through their empathy, courage, and presence, guide this breathing in ways that are soft yet profound, reminding us that life is an ongoing, tenderly interconnected process. In this quiet alignment, the dream breathes together, offering a serene and enduring harmony that invites reflection, rest, and the gentle surrender to the rhythm of worlds coexisting, resonating, and evolving in quiet unison. And as we linger in the gentle rhythm of this parallel breathing, it becomes possible to feel the weightless flow of time itself stretching across both worlds. Time here is not measured in strict seconds, minutes, or hours, but in the subtle unfolding of cause and effect, of intention and resonance. Each inhalation of this multiversal breath gathers potential. Each exhalation releases it softly into reality. Stephen's light pulses with empathy. Finn's courage radiates through the living energy of Ooh, and both send quiet ripples outward that interact with Prismo's light warp, amplifying the patterns of possibility across dimensions. It is almost as if the two universes are engaged in a slow, deliberate dance, each movement informed by countless unseen threads, the echoes of past conflicts, the remnants of creation, and the lingering traces of energy from long-forgotten civilizations all converge in this quiet alignment, reminding us that history is not static. It continues to breathe, interact, and influence the present in subtle ways. Gems refract light that carries the memory of homeworld's history, while elementals shift with the emotional energies of ooh, both responding to the gentle tug of resonance that the warp provides. In this space, the past is neither erased nor burdensome. It simply becomes part of the ongoing symphony of life, woven into the living rhythm of the present. Stephen and Finn, as the conscious participants in this multiversal dialogue, embody the idea that presence matters. Their actions, even those as simple as a word of encouragement or a gesture of understanding, send subtle vibrations outward. These vibrations ripple across the light warp, touching other beings, influencing potential, and contributing to the unfolding of creation in ways both immediate and delayed. The cube does not direct these currents. It merely allows them to flow, refract, and harmonize, preserving the autonomy of each world while highlighting their profound interconnectedness. We can imagine the resonance between Stephen and Finn as a kind of quiet empathy that transcends direct interaction. Though they may never meet, their worlds respond to one another as if each recognizes the other's presence. The light of Stephen's heart touches the fluid essence of ooh, while Finn's courage echoes in the structured rhythms of gem society. These subtle interactions suggest that, even across vast distances and differing principles, the universe favors harmony when intention is guided by care, awareness, and presence. There is also a delicate teaching here about patience. In witnessing the shared breadth of the universes, we see that transformation is rarely immediate. Change often unfolds slowly, incrementally, guided by countless small actions that collectively shape the outcome. A gem may take decades to fully realize the impact of Stephen's empathy. An elemental may shift subtly over the course of many seasons in response to Finn's influence. And yet, each of these ripples, no matter how faint, contributes to the quiet, persistent evolution of life and energy across the multiverse. The light warp itself reflects this rhythm in its shimmering, almost imperceptible presence. It refracts light, bends essence, and carries energy gently through space and time, creating a space where the consequences of intention can unfold naturally and harmoniously. It does not impose a particular path. It simply amplifies resonance, allowing the soft interactions between worlds, beings, and timelines to flourish. In this way, it becomes not only a conduit for potential, but a reminder that the universe itself is alive, listening, and responsive to the subtle currents of life. Stephen and Finn, as the quiet anchors of this breathing dream, demonstrate that the smallest gestures can carry the greatest significance. Every act of empathy, bravery, or care is magnified by the warp, allowing it to ripple across worlds, influencing light and essence in ways that are both immediate and long-lasting. The Children of Rebirth, gems, elementals, and even the echoes of Prismo's guidance all participate in this continuous, slow-moving, yet profound dialogue. Their interactions show us that harmony is cultivated through presence, reflection, and gentle intention, rather than through force or command. And as we drift further into this vision, we can almost feel the universes themselves inhaling and exhaling together. Gems shimmer with soft brilliance, responding to the resonance of ooze elementals. Elementals ripple, their forms subtly aligning with the refracted light of homeworld. Stephen's empathy and Finn's courage flow like twin currents through the multiverse, joining the pulse of light warp and harmonizing across dimensions. The dream breathes as one, a quiet, persistent, and deeply nurturing rhythm that reflects the profound beauty of interconnected creation. In this shared breathing, there is a profound sense of calm and completion. It is not an ending in the conventional sense, but a gentle acknowledgement that the multiverse, though vast and complex, moves in subtle harmony when guided by empathy, courage, and thoughtful presence. Every pulse of light, every ripple of essence, every soft act of intention contributes to this ongoing symphony, reminding us that the process of creation is infinite, patient, and deeply tender. The two worlds, aligned in resonance, breathe together, offering a quiet, luminous lullaby to all who inhabit or dream within them. A reminder that life, in all its forms, is profoundly interconnected, endlessly evolving, and always capable of gentle renewal. And now, as the multiverse settles into its quiet rhythm, the shared breath of these two worlds grows softer still, slower, deeper, calmer. The light warp hums gently, a pulse that is neither loud nor bright, but endlessly steady. Through its shimmer, faint waves of energy ripple outward, carrying the traces of every act of kindness, every spark of courage, every moment of empathy that Stephen and Finn have ever released into their respective universes. It is through these ripples that both realms continue to change, not with haste or force, but through the tender unfolding of awareness and connection. We can picture Stephen sitting beneath the soft glow of twilight on Earth, perhaps by the seaside, where the waves roll in gentle intervals, mirroring the heartbeat of the world. The stars above shimmer like distant gems, each carrying its own resonance, each reflecting the light of care and harmony that he embodies. Far across the cosmic bridge, Finn lies on a quiet hill in Uu with Jake asleep beside him, and the night sky stretching endlessly above. The constellations are different here, fluid, shifting, but their pulse feels the same. Both skies hum softly, as though the stars themselves are part of the same living breath. Between them, unseen yet ever-present, the light warp vibrates in slow, deliberate tones, connecting the rhythm of these moments. Stephen's light and Finn's courage reach toward one another through the vast quiet of the multiverse, never colliding, never disrupting, only blending into a balanced, harmonious current. It is the same balance that has always existed between creation and reflection, between light and essence, between the stillness of a gem and the motion of an elemental. The universes remain distinct, yet they speak in whispers that the attentive heart can almost hear. It is in these whispers that the deeper meaning of this shared dream resides. Both Adventure Time and Steven Universe, in their own ways, tell stories about the aftermath of great wars, about love that rebuilds, about understanding that heals. They show us worlds shaped by conflict, but softened through care. Civilizations that once reached for control, now rediscovering connection. The gems and the elementals, born from ancient power, have evolved beyond their origins, no longer just creations of force, but reflections of feeling. Through Stephen's empathy and Finn's steady heart, they've learned the truth that strength is not found in domination, but in harmony, not in isolation, but in understanding. As the dream breathes, so too does the lesson it carries. The cosmos, in all its mystery, reminds us that every act of kindness ripples outward. Every gentle intention echoes across time and space. Whether it takes form as the healing glow of a gem or the slow, fluid balance of an elemental, the essence remains the same. Life seeks connection. The universes themselves, ancient and vast as they are, seem to respond to this truth, weaving the threads of existence into patterns that hum softly with meaning. In the great quiet between stars, perhaps even Prismo watches over the dream, the faint light of his cube pulsing like a heartbeat at the edge of time. He observes without judgment, allowing the flow of reality to move as it will, the light warp shimmering faintly as it bridges the infinite distance between Stephen's world and Finn's. Through this bridge, light and essence continue their dialogue, weaving a gentle, endless lullaby that carries through all of creation. It is not a song of endings, but of continuity, a melody that whispers that as long as there is care, awareness, and courage, the dream will never fade. If we listen closely, we can almost hear that melody now. It moves beneath the quiet hum of existence, through every breath of wind, every pulse of light. It is the song of worlds breathing together, of life recognizing itself in other forms, of hearts reaching across infinite divides. Stephen's Ito's soft laughter, Finn's quiet hum, the distant echo of the stars, all of them are part of this shared rhythm, steady and unbroken. And maybe, as we drift deeper into the quiet tonight, we can feel that same breath within ourselves, the slow rise and fall of the chest, the calm pulse of the heart, the peace that settles when we remember that we too are part of this vast, interconnected dream. Every small kindness, every moment of calm, every gentle choice is another breath in that shared rhythm, another thread in the luminous web that connects all things. The dream of Stephen's universe and the dream of Oo are not so different from our own. They remind us that even after the greatest wars, the deepest losses, or the longest journeys, there is still time to rest, to rebuild, and to breathe together. The cosmos itself seems to cradle that truth tenderly, like a lullaby that has been singing since the dawn of time. So, as we close our eyes tonight, let the sound of that shared breathing carry you into sleep. Picture the glow of Stephen's gem, the shimmer of Finn's sword, the pulse of the light warp stretching quietly between them. Let the universes hum in unison, calm and infinite, and let your thoughts drift among them, weightless, peaceful, and safe within the great rhythm of creation. Because somewhere, beyond all boundaries, the dream still breathes. Light and essence flow together. Time folds softly inward, and the universe in all its wonder sighs a quiet, endless lullaby. Good night.